All right. Welcome, one and all, to the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. I think this is episode 371. Beautiful July 11th, although it's pretty hot. I'm one of your co-hosts, Randall Thor 19, man with the million. Joining me today, Mr. Jez Corden, Warhammer extraordinaire, Warhammer fan, Warhammer super fan, Mr. Corden. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm going hard on the Warhammer right now. The reason Rand's saying that, guys, is because before the show, I was just telling Rand how I'd just finished Space Marine 2.
Look at him completing games, even if they're
I completed
Warhammer.
games.
I guess they count, you know.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, Space Marine 2 is pretty good. You know, there's some like amazing moments in the game, like incredible visuals, really fun sort of gameplay, but I'm hoping Space Marine 3 is like a little bit more ambitious, a little less repetitive, maybe. I don't know. It was a really good game. I enjoyed myself.
Well, that's good. That's good.
How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's certainly been a week. If you guys aren't aware, Patreon members are aware though, but we did an Xbox 2+1 on Wednesday, a couple days ago, with Con Moriarty of Last Stand Media and Sacred Symbols. It was a 3.5 hour show. Talked a lot about PlayStation and Helldivers 2 and what other games could come from PlayStation and the industry in general and Xbox and all that stuff that's basically been happening. So that is available on the Patreon for anybody that wants to check that out. Although it will be going live to everybody sometime next week, probably like Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really good show. Everybody was like laid back and chill.
It was an awesome show. I think that's the longest Xbox 2+1 we've ever done. It's
possible because most people are on a time limit. You know, it's like, hey, an hour and a half or 2 hours they can normally go, and we went with Colin for like 3.5. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. The whole Game Pass stuff. Like, geez, Game Pass, man. A lot of the industry showed its. I think it was the word that Sicko Mechanical used on Twitter. That a lot of the games industry showed their collective asses this week, ready to jump down, and there's this weird fixation on the profitability of Game Pass, right? And it's weird because I understand people want to know how it works and want to know if it makes money. That's not the weird part I'm talking about, but it's weird when you have these game journalists who's, gone to school to learn how to properly write articles and sourcing and all that sort of stuff, right? And yet they all act like they're fucking corporate accountants and know how things are structured and, where things are. And it is like the weirdest thing for like, these guys who live off clicks, which I get. Clicks, the lifeblood of the economy, right? Or of the creator economy. You got to spruce up that title real good. Real nice to get people's attention, to want to click on it so you can make ad revenue and all that stuff. And you got to have nice pictures and good thumbnails, and otherwise, because you're just going to get lost in a sea of other clickbait nonsense on YouTube and elsewhere, right? You got to stand out unless you already have a big audience. So everybody's compete with one another. So everybody has to make these, incendiary titles, as I would call them, which, I'm guilty of in the past, especially not for the podcast. Podcasts, I usually kind of keep it pretty strict. Just like, hey, this is this. But for the YouTube titles, yeah, you got to go, unless you're super huge and people are going to watch your stuff anyways. You need to make those titles a little enticing, more so than normal. But man, we got a lot of game journalists acting like they're accountants and ready to jump off a bridge when Chris String says how high, right? Like, yes, sir. uh,
Yeah, I was really confused about some of this stuff because it was just like, just email PR and ask. Or better yet,
see
look at
that
Microsoft's
requires work.
quarterlies.
See, that requires work, and a lot of the industry is based around just waiting till somebody else does the work and then writing
You mean me?
articles and sourcing them in their articles or not sourcing them. That's why a lot of the industry is just based on regurgitation, where somebody writes an article
Sure
and
is.
then every other single website on earth will write an article to sourcing it just so they can get clicks too. A lot of it is just copy. It's basically what Control V, getting like whatever what the shortcut is for paste. That's what it is. There isn't really a lot of unique journalism going on anymore. A lot of it's just somebody. We're waiting until IGN runs an article. We're waiting for Windows Central to run an article. Waiting for Insider Gaming to run an article. We're waiting for tweets, and then boom, off here we go. Then there's a million fucking articles about the same thing. Gaming industry, or the journalism industry, baby. Nothing but just regurgitation and copy and pasting, right?
It's true. We'll talk more about the drink stuff and in a bit, but like I got my ass out of bed at 4 a.m. I started like, because I wasn't sleeping anyway. But I was just like, this is just not accurate. So I'm gonna debunk some of this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you defend it, then you called a shill until, you know, Chris String himself came out and was like, oh, actually, I got this wrong.
Oh, wait a minute,
You know?
guys. Wait a minute. I have to do a retraction. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that because that was definitely something. I mean, this is
it was
the week after the Xbox explosive news regarding cancellations of games and the layoffs and all that sort of stuff. The fallout of it, as you were. Although now there's also Fallout game rumors as well. Multiple Fallout game rumors.
Info on that.
Potentially.
Got some info on that.
So we do have quite a bit to talk about. So do us a big favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Hopefully you enjoy the show. If it's really realistically your first time listening or enjoying it, like, hope you do like what you hear. And if you want more, you can always subscribe. And yeah, we'll do some housekeeping really quickly, and then we'll get right into everything that's going on. So, Jez, I believe this episode has a sponsor, correct?
It sure does,
is
my
the,
buddy.
Is the shark coming back
dude.
for this? Is the shark coming?
The shark is coming back, but the shark's got a very sore throat at the moment.
Oh no!
So.
Well, tell the people why you have a sore throat. What's up with your throat? What's going on?
So if I mute periodically, it's because I'm hacking up and coughing, and it's because
now listen to this, people. This is Jez Corden.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is not fun. This is not fun. We've got.
What'd you do?
We had not anymore, but we had an ant infestation in the south wall of our house.
Okay.
And the ants decided to do their nuptial flight during the podcast a couple of weeks ago. And I went crazy vacuuming them up.
Okay.
But then we also had this bug spray, citronella-based bug spray, and you know, it says vegan bug spray on the bottle. You know, natural bug spray.
Natural bug spray that
natural bug spray
that Mother Nature itself obviously creates, right? You know, so it's like it's got to be good to inhale, right? It's vegan. It's got to be good to inhale through your mouth and your nose. It certainly couldn't cause any problems, right?
No. So I was like, you know, if it's not natural or whatever, that, you know, just citrus or whatever. But it's called citronella, so I just assume that citronella must mean citrus, so it's lemon or orange based or something. So I sprayed it everywhere during the podcast. I sprayed it all over the window, all around the window ledge, which connects to the wall outside where they were getting in. And I just sat there in this cloud of bug spray and inhaled it for like 2 hours. And now I burned all my trachea and all my lungs, and I've been coughing up slime for the last 2 weeks, you know. So, waking up, crackling lungs and all that shit. I was just like, huh, don't inhale citronella gas, I suppose is the moral of the story. Um, but we survived and we persevere, Rat. We survive and we persevere. So, yes, this week's podcast is sponsored by the illustrious people over at Surfshark VPN. Rah, rah. Are you looking for a smarter way to protect your digital life? Surfshark VPN is your all-in-one solution for safe, seamless online browsing. Whether you're watching your favorite shows, leveling up in your favorite games, or just catching up on the latest internet trends, Surfshark has your back with blazing fast speeds and support for unlimited devices. Ready to experience internet freedom like never before? Surfshark helps you cut through online barriers with ease. No more geo-blocks, no more restrictions. Access global content, unlock new possibilities, and enjoy a cleaner, faster browsing experience thanks to Surfshark's Clean Web tech. Clean Web fends off ads, trackers, and malware all before they reach you. Your privacy is top priority. With a strict no-logs policy, your online activity stays yours and yours alone. And with Surfshark's powerful encryption, your personal data is wrapped in layers of security, giving you total peace of mind while you surf. Here's a deal you won't want to miss. Xbox 2 podcast listeners get a whopping 86% off a 2-year Surfshark plan. Reclaim your online freedom. Click the link in the description to get started. Browse boldly, browse safely, browse with Surfshark. Rah, rah. So yeah, Surfshark VPN is an awesome VPN service that I personally use, and I've been using it this past week round because I didn't realize that WWE is not available on Netflix in Germany at all. So, I slap Surfshark VPN on my web browser with an extension, click United Kingdom, and then boom, I have SmackDown, Raw, NXT, all of it at my fingertips for the low price of around $2 a month. Because with this deal, you get 86% off a 2-year plan, which works out to around $2 a month. And I think they actually throw in a couple of extra months for free as well on top of that. So it's a very good deal, very good service. You checked it out, it helps the channel. And zero logs policy, RAM-based servers. So even if there were logs, they just don't have any storage to keep logs. So it's like as secure as you can possibly get. And the European Union has no requirements for Surfshark to keep any logs. So yeah, Surfshark VPN, very good. And Randy should pin that message to the chat while we're there.
Okay, let me see. Where is it? There we are. Pin message. There we go. All right. So, so thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring the episode. 86% off 2-year deal. Link, like I said,
very good.
It's pinned in the comment section and is in the description if you want to check it out. But also we have the amazingly awesome Patreon supporters. We have the question and answer thread, which I believe you posted, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I did. Question Q&A thread is up on Patreon
so
for those who
got some questions. Drop them in there. We'll answer them at the end of the show, as we always do. Like I said, Colin Moriarty's interview, 3.5 hours long. It's available for your listening pleasure, wherever you want to listen to it. That is available just exclusively right now on Patreon, so check that out. And we're going to do some shout-outs here for the Xbox 2 MVPs, and then we'll get into the show. So we got Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trade, Laser Wolf, Battered Haddock, Armor Dude 52C, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, K-Trax, Bright Tundra 1, Discardica Boost, Justin Duel, Sean Kramer, PB Broking, Asa T, and Madison. Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Pat Rock, Scarcely Relevant, Adam Bartolo, Briggs Country, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. It means a lot. So I do think Jez also has a post up there about realistic guests that we can have for Xbox 2+1. I mean, you know, realistic meaning like, hey, probably not executives from companies, and you know, it'd be weird for us to have Phil Spencer on when in the last podcast I was like, maybe Phil Spencer shouldn't be talking to anybody anymore. You know, like,
Yeah.
come on Xbox 2 and say something, which might end up being wrong in 4 or 6 months or whatever. But yeah, we're always looking to see who we can get. Sometimes the time when we do our show kind of conflicts with other people's schedules, so they might be difficult to grab. But let us know who you would want, and we'll try our best to get that to make that happen. So with all that said, Jez,
All that said,
let's get into the show, and I wanted to talk first about Death Stranding 2.
Death Stranding 2.
Yes, because I've finished the game. I'm done. I completed it.
You done?
Don't have the platinum because I don't care. It's funny because I was thinking to myself, if I was playing this on Xbox, would I go for the completion? Because obviously I don't really care about platinums. I don't care about PlayStation trophies because that's not where I play. I care about achievements, and I was thinking like, well, if I had if I could get achievements on this, would I get them all? And I've been debating with myself and be like, part of me wants to do it and a part of me didn't. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, maybe. But I did finish the game, and I have about 65 hours into it. I was like Porter level 275, I think.
Did you do? Is that like? Did you do everything in 65 hours?
Well, so
like everything reasonable.
I didn't 5-star all of the outposts. I 5-starred half of them. Which you increase the outposts star level by delivering packages to them. And usually at each level, like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, they'll give you something. And sometimes the rewards are amazing. Like there is one of the outposts is the Lone Commander, which is right when you first get to Australia. Because this game entirely takes place in Australia. Like you are connecting the Australian continent. And I think I saw like Special Nick in the game. I think I saw his house. And sometimes the rewards are just, whatever. I don't really care about any of this stuff. But then sometimes the rewards are good. Like one of the first ones early in Australia is this Lone Commander. Although he's a little difficult to get to. And he actually requires a lot of likes, so a lot of deliveries to him to get it. But when you do reach 5 stars, you get a silent tranquilizer sniper rifle. Because they'll give you a sniper rifle when you reach 1 star. But it's not silent. So when you use it, it's like if you're going after a camp of 10 people, as soon as you use it, they're going to be
alert everyone.
Yeah, going to alert everyone, and it's like, oh, it's cool. Because like at least at the beginning of the game, a lot of the enemies don't wear armor, and even when they do wear armor, like head armor, some of them do. One tranquilizer shot will knock off that head armor, and then if you fire another one and hits them, it'll knock them out. So it's like, okay, it doesn't have a lot of ammo, but I was running like 2 large extra ammo things on my backpack, so I would have more ammo. So I was like, oh, all right, well, let's see, because I got that one up, and I got the silent sniper or silent tranq rifle. So a lot of it was like kind of like playing Metal Gear, for the going into the outpost and silently taking them down, right? Which the game gives you. The game definitely has
like Metal Gear Solid 5, right?
Yeah, 5, and like I think I mentioned before, like in this type of game, we don't really get a lot of stealth options anymore in gaming. People don't have the patience; they want to go balls to the wall, which you can. That's one of the things I like about the combat in this game is you can play it however you want. You want to be stealth? I mean, they give you a sniper rifle, but if you want to work to get the silence one, you can. You get pistols that are a silent pistol, or there's an assault rifle you can get that has a silencer on it, and that'll one-shot enemies if they don't have any protection. Or you can just go balls to the wall, just get in there, shotguns, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, like the whole kit and caboodle, and just destroy people. And if you just want to do melee combat, it's got that too. You could get swords, ghost blade, but
Swords?
you can get there's like a ghost blade. You can get like these
I don't remember that.
these rods, or you could just use your fists. Hell, you could, which is always fun to do. You could, once you get like the battle chassis skeleton, which you can use to help you kind of make deliveries and go walk along, long places or whatever, distant places. You can like sprint at enemies and you'll be sprinting fast. And then you just jump and then you can do like a complete drop kick in their face and knock them completely out. So like the combat scenarios in the game are very, they're quite varied, and I appreciate for them. And I think there's more combat in this game than there was in Death Stranding 1, because I think the combat's better. But overall, like the real gameplay is the delivering of the packages and getting across the terrain and how you want to do that. And
I'm impressed they maintain that, because I feel like that was in the original game, the whole delivering packages thing, that was like controversial,
sure,
to some degree. So I'm impressed they kind of stuck to their
people
guns
like
and were like, no, this is the kind
we're
of game
talking about. It's just a walking sim. Like people like you like have no appreciation for the genre,
Bro, at least in Death Stranding, you interact while walking.
That is true. It's a big world you interact with and all the other stuff. So I would say if you're not into Death Stranding already, this game's not going to change your mind. And I do feel like you at least need to have played the first one, because obviously it's a Kojima game, so it is heavily story focused, and it is a direct sequel to Death Stranding 1. So if you were to start this one on its own, you would be completely lost story-wise, because a lot of the game is already banking that on the idea that you know what happened the first game, you know who Sam Bridges is, you know what Fragile is and what they've been through, you know who Hartman is, right? Like a lot of it is you already are supposed to have a familiarity with the characters and the world of Death Stranding and Higgs. So coming into this one without playing the first one or knowing anything about it, you could play this one and like it, but then you'd be like, I should probably play the first game. But if you didn't like the first game, I'm not sure that this would change your mind in any significant way at all. So keep that in mind. So the way I played the game was like I typically do for most of my open world games, is I would try to do as much as I can in the area I'm at and then move on eventually, right? So in this game, that meant 5-starring a lot of the outposts to get all their full rewards. Some of them are great, some of them weren't so much. And about half...
Are the rewards like tools you use, or they're cosmetic?
Like maybe like better upgrades. Like you get like one might give you like a machine pistol, and then like if you 3-starred, you'll get a silenced machine pistol, or you'll get cargo gloves level 1, and then like 3 or 4-star, you get cargo gloves level 2. Or this one gives you an assault rifle level 1, but then 4 stars will get you assault rifle level 2. And usually with those things is like the level 2 versions give you more ammo, but also they weigh less, so they take up less space when you carry them. And obviously, like when this game's all kind of about deliveries, so space and weight is really more, because the more you carry, the tougher it is. So a lot of it is that, like they'll give you a lot of like blood grenade level 1, blood grenade level 2. So they'll give you upgrades and stuff, and it's something you kind of want to go for because the upgraded weapons are better and they take up less space and stuff. So I was going through the game, enjoying the vibes. Kojima's cutscene direction in this is impeccable, right? You could tell the dude wants to be a movie director, right? It's some of the best cutscenes.
There's rumors that he's gonna be doing that next.
I mean, he's basically in these cutscenes, in the story stuff. It's basically like he is putting together a movie, right? He's at the tip top of it when it comes to like game direction, especially in the cutscene stuff. The story's not going to work for some people. There is a lot of gobbledygook, as I would like to say, where it's like, yeah, it makes sense within the story, but anybody really thinking about it too deep, like, what is the Death Stranding? What's a beach? What's a BB? And why is Sam a repatriate? And all these sort of terms. So it's like, yeah, this other world that has all these different aspects to it. Some people just, when all that stuff's really talked about, when they do their kind of info dump, they'll people's eyes will glaze over, right? What have you. I mean, that's just kind of the thing. It's Kojima. He's Kojima hard in this game, Jez. Kojima is Kojima hard. Because I can't even talk about some of the ending stuff in this game. Maybe I'll tell you off the show, because I'm not going to spoil anybody, but like, I will say Kojima's got some...
I don't want spoilers either. I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima's got some fucking balls. I'll say that. He's got some fucking balls. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure anybody else could pull off what he pulled off. So...
Is that balls as in, like, controversial themes, or balls as in this is just completely batshit insane?
I mean, some of it is, like, the ending stuff is sort of completely over-the-top, absurd, like, nonsense to a certain stuff. But it's so fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, you sort of forgive some of it, and I think Kojima has kind of...
Rule of cool.
Yeah, but then some of it is... very much somebody else might look at it and be like, what is this? What's going on?
This is just weird for the sake of weird.
Yeah, and I wish I could. I wish
always say that about David Lynch.
I wish I could talk in more in depth about it, about those aspects, but I want people to experience the game just like he is, and he is. I say he's got some balls for some of the stuff he does, and I can't really say much more than that, but maybe down the road we can. But so how I played the game, enjoying everything of it, like his use of cutscenes. Oh, the music. God, the music is... Kojima's got some taste in music, bro. When you're on those journeys delivering stuff, and then a song will pop up. Incredible. Like bands I never even heard of, and then I'm listening to the song. I'm like, man, this song's a banger.
Yeah, I discovered Low Roar from Death Stranding 1.
Yeah, Low Roar, they got some songs in this one. In fact, in the credits, he dedicated to the lead singer of the band who died.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff, but like halfway through, about 50 hours in, which is a long time. 50 hours is a long time. I was about halfway through because I was doing all the extra deliveries, making sure everybody got to 5 stars, building all the roads, building all the monorails, because you're making all these deliveries and you don't always want to be walking. So there are vehicles you can use to take stuff to and from, and there is a road system. But normally, even though it's like they say you contribute elements to it, it's not like if you just keep on playing, like the road will be complete behind you, like the rest of the community is building it for you. Like you actually need to put in a lot of work in it. So I literally built half the road network, right? Because I was constantly delivering stuff. So it was just easier to, the smooth transition of driving on the bike or the pickup truck and just delivering on the roads. But about halfway through, I was like, I'm kind of over that, right? I wanted to continue with the story instead of just constantly being like, let me 5-star this person and 5-star that person. So I stopped doing
There's always that point. There's always that point in the game where it's just like, I just want to rush to the end.
Yeah, that happens in all these open world games. And it kept me like really, really engaged for 50 hours of doing everything. And then at some point I was just like, I don't want to build the roads anymore. I don't want to deliver all this stuff anymore. So then I just focused on the rest of the story, which took about 15 hours because I remember I hit 50 and I was like, I'm just doing the main story, and then finished the main story. It was like 65. And I mean, so it's really good. And I was kind of being like, all right, Expedition 33, as you guys know, my game of the year right now. And I was thinking, like, can Death Stranding 2 get up there? because at the time I'm playing it, I was like, okay, it's close. Like it's definitely in my top 5. And I finished the game, and I sat on it, and I ruminated on it, and I slept on it because I beat the game a couple days ago. I'm like, where would I place it? And maybe it's
Above
because,
or below Clair Obscur?
I did give up after 50 hours, and I just wanted to complete, the story and stuff. I still think Expedition 33 affected me to a greater degree than Death Stranding 2 did.
Damn.
So, as of right now, Expedition 33 is still my game of the year. Death Stranding 2 is a close second or third. But with
Jason Schreier said that Avowed affected him more
with
than
that said,
Expedition 33.
I gotta go. I gotta go answer the door real quick, Jez. Take some questions. I'll be right back.
Oh shit. Well, Rand's abandoning us, guys, so you're gonna have to give me some questions while we transition to the next segment. A lot of people talking about David Lynch in chat. Like, David Lynch, I really honestly think Kojima is quite clearly a big David Lynch fan. He kind of like that sort of, I don't know, just out there weirdness, but played completely straight. I mean, Lynch's thing is that all of his stuff is kind of like almost like a dreamscape, right? I don't think Kojima's quite going for that, but there's definitely a sort of like, this is weird, like for the sake of, weird at times. Chris asks, Jez, have you heard anything about Halo reveal at Halo Championship? I have not, mate. But honestly, I haven't looked into it too deeply yet, so hang tight on that one. Maybe we'll talk about it earlier. Talk about it later. Sea Lord of Brava says, I'd put Avowed and Doom over Expedition 33 myself. I really need to play Avowed. I feel like Avowed is controversial. Like, some people really liked it, and then other people didn't, but it feels like nobody was really talking about it. Like, it didn't really cut through the zeitgeist in a way that Death Stranding will, or Expedition 33 clearly has, or like something like a Cyberpunk or a Baldur's Gate. It feels like Avowed came and went, and people didn't even notice. But it does feel like a lot of people who played Avowed really, really enjoyed it. So I want to get around to it eventually. I've been on my big Warhammer kick. I finished Rogue Trader. I finished Space Marine 1 and 2. So now I'm kind of like opening up a bit to trying something else. I wanted to play the Altars next, but maybe I'll play Avowed next. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it to a vote. Maybe I'll stream. One of the things I want to do more is live streaming, so maybe we could play Avowed on live stream or something. You guys can hang out. Give me some more questions while I wait for Rand. I have no idea how long Rand's gonna be. Usually it's only like a couple of minutes. It's probably like Amazon delivery or something like that. Paris says, I love the Avowed and make no apologies for it. Yeah, I want to check it out, man. I want to check it out. Solithida says, Jez, if you did a podcast with, oh no, it's Alex, would you wear a banana suit as well? I would, man. I definitely would wear a banana suit. I feel like if we did a podcast with Alex, it'd have to be cameras on. Alex is a very, very visual content creator, I think. Oh man, I love watching his shows, man. Alex's energy is just awesome. Jez, have you played Rematch? DJ Shenanigan asks. I have not played Rematch. I quite enjoy Rocket League, and I know like people compare them and say, "Oh, it's like Rocket League but football." But I don't know. I'm not that into football and like competitive games in general. I kind of like every time I try and play a competitive game, like even Overwatch, I just find myself just feeling tired. I almost worried that I'm getting too old for this shit now. And I'm just like, I can't be bothered to compete and get sweaty and try. I had so much fun playing Rogue Trader, which was just like totally chill. I mean, I played it on hard difficulty, but it's like, it's not sweaty, right? When it's turn-based. It's just like kind of passive, thinking about your strategy and just sort of taking it in a sort of relaxed kind of way. Um, I don't know if I don't know if I'm just getting old now. Like Colin said on the podcast the other day, he said we're relics, you know. It's kind of right? Um, mm, 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 mm. So Chief Nagel says, "Do you think Halo CE remake will be campaign only, and will it be that way going forward, splitting the multiplayer?" Um, it's a good question. I did see that whole drama around that. Like, will it be campaign only? Because there was some leaks about that, right? Um, or at least reports on it. I don't know myself whether it will or won't be, but if I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if it was campaign only, because they've got the Master Chief Collection, and they probably don't want to split the player base there to some degree. I can see what they might do is like do some kind of CE event in Halo Infinite or Master Chief Collection or something like that. I think it would be a missed opportunity, but one take I saw, and I think his name's Late Night at Halo on Twitter. He was like, um, his take was they wouldn't be able to get it right. They wouldn't be able to get Halo C right. So, and people would just complain about it. So maybe they were just like, let's just for multiplayer, let's focus on the next game. I don't know. Um, but I haven't heard anything personally either way. I'm still investigating that one. Oh well, to be honest, I haven't started yet. This week was Prime Day, or well, Prime Week in Windows Central, so that means we got to focus on deal posting and finding deals for people and stuff like that. That's kind of like everything I've been doing this week. Kind of everything else has been thrown out the window. I did do a little bit of reporting, you might have seen, but not a lot. Mostly deals. JDV Plays says, Jez, when will we get more Starfield content? I put the game down after Shattered Space but missed the universe. Just wish there was more reasons to come back. Well, there are mods, and there are some like good campaign mods that are like endorsed by Bethesda and stuff. But I appreciate like the idea that you want content from Bethesda, right? Like I feel the same way. I will say this, they're not done with Starfield, and there is more content, DLC, expansions, and a PS5 version on the way. I just don't have the timeline right now. Um, I don't have a timeline for that. But it is something they're working on. They're not just abandoning Starfield. Even though like Elder Scrolls 6 is obviously a huge focus point for the studio right now, they're not abandoning Starfield. I don't know what kind of scope the next expansion is going to be or whatever, but I think still a ton of untapped potential in that game. I feel like when like even not just even outside of just new story content, I think like the base game could do with like more POIs, points of interest, fleshing out the overarching everything, you know, itemization. I thought could be better as well, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with Starfield. Um, JB1521 says, I need Starfield Online. Man, that's kind of like what they were promising with Star Citizen, right? The most funded game of all time. Um, so maybe eventually Star Citizen actually gets finished, and then you can play it there, man. I don't know. Uh, Jez, are you going to Gamescom this year? Says 14. I am going to go to Gamescom this year. So I'm going to Gamescom. I'm going to be checking out a bunch of games from Microsoft, Capcom. I've also got meetings with Blizzard. If there are any games like you'd like me to check out specifically, maybe I'll put up a thread on the Patreon for on the free on a free tier, and you guys can suggest some games. I'm trying to get in a meeting for that Chronos, the New Dawn, because I think that game looks fantastic. Really love survival horror, man, and that just looks really, really good. Um, Jez, is the recent investment to AI to help control the price of game production, and will it be a good move for the future? DJ Shenanigan asks. That's a really good question. About like Microsoft's investments in AI to make game production cheaper. I think it's definitely something they think about is like how can AI contribute to make game production cheaper? But look at the reactions to the alters. The alters used AI to do translations of the game, and there was like a huge backlash about it. They also used AI to do placeholder graphics as well, I think, off the top of my head, and there was a huge backlash about it. So my thought process is like for things like wall textures or grass or just you know sort of background objects. I don't see why using AI is that big of a deal, or lighting effects and stuff like that. But when it comes to writing and dialogue and stuff like that, I think AI can just seem lame. Like you can kind of tell
You
when
love
something's
AI.
AI in some directions.
You love AI, don't
But
you?
no, I don't. I hate AI. But like what the guy was asking was like, is Microsoft
No,
investing in
yeah,
AI
I've
to
heard
make
them.
game dev cheaper? Um,
They're investing in AI to make more money because that's where the money is right now.
yeah, I mean,
They
there's
see it
obviously
as the
that.
future. I mean, yeah, you could potentially be like, "Oh, we're using AI in gaming, so we need that," but it's more
Yeah.
like they view AI as the next frontier for them, kind of like how it was Windows until it wasn't, but then it was the cloud and it was Azure, and that's been kind of their bread and butter for a long time now. But they view
Well,
AI, and whoever wins the AI race is probably going to be the biggest company in the world. I mean, look how much Nvidia I think just hit a $4 trillion capitalization, and that's just based off of the
AI
AI
servers,
stuff.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so they're all trying to hit that, uh,
Yeah.
to be that, and Microsoft, uh, maybe they made the wrong bet, but probably wish they would have bought OpenAI instead of collaborating with them or partnering with them when they had the chance or whatever.
I
But
think they couldn't. I think at the time, OpenAI's thing was like, oh,
yeah,
we want to be non-profit. It was the whole thing with OpenAI being non-profit but having a
yeah.
for-profit
I mean, but
arm
the
and all
idea
this
the
stuff.
idea of of Microsoft investing in AI strictly for gaming, I think is they're not doing it
No, it's
strictly for gaming. It's
I
everything
think
else,
gaming is
and
part of it.
sure, gaming's
Like
part of it, but it's everything else. Like that's what I mean. They view AI as like the next big thing, kind of like I don't know,
yeah,
phones were like iPhones and stuff, and
yeah.
whoever wins the race is going to be the biggest company, and Microsoft wants to
I
be
mean,
there. Even though there
I
is, I
saw
don't know
like
if
one
you've
take where it was like these companies are racing to build God.
like they talk about their carbon footprint, right? Microsoft or whatever, and how they're trying to lessen their carbon footprint in the world, and except
Yeah, they're trying to be
except with
carbon
AI, it's
negative.
like, well, no, now you're really,
Yeah.
you're really causing some damage now. But yeah, it's I've also seen a lot of pushback on AI lately.
Yeah,
Um,
the alters caught some flack.
yeah, I mean, maybe they hope in the future when it's ubiquitous that people won't have that backlash where it's like every game uses it or whatever. But uh, I am picking up more and more people kind of against it, like the AI slop images you see on social media or the awful AI videos that come out of it that have no creativity.
And
Or
YouTube
like
just
AI books. YouTube's like looking to demonetize some of that stuff, which
yeah.
I think will help if there's no way to actually make money off of it. Then you would think people would not want to spend the money to do it.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff helps. But I think I don't know. There are people like, oh, because I remember back when it first started, people use it for the thumbnails. It's like, oh, It's kind of cool looking, but like all that stuff looks so samey now. And there's like none of the videos I've ever seen of the AI stuff are impressive in any way. People are always like, look what they just did. The movie studios are going to be out of business or whatever. And it's just like some awful like video.
Oh, Rand.
Someone made, and like two-minute video that literally copies Star Wars and Dune and all these other copyrighted. So it's like it literally stole from them, and you can see it in the video. But it's like movie studios are going to be out of business. It's like, dude, sure, if movie studios are making 2-minute movies, maybe. But
well, like when I went to see the new Jurassic World.
You saw Jurassic World Rebirth. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was called. So it was the new Jurassic World movie to me. We went to watch it, and it was all right. I didn't hate it. It was better than the first Jurassic World, and the second one I can't even remember, and I didn't see the third one. But it was also like
this is
just
the sixth one, isn't it, or the seventh?
Nah, it's like there was 3 Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, and then
there
were
4 Jurassic World movies.
I think there was 3 Jurassic World movies. This is
the 4th Jurassic World movie.
Yeah, so there were 7 movies.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
But it was all right. It was like a shot-for-shot remake of the original movie, a bit like The Force Awakens, right? Where it's like we're just gonna retell the first ever movie, but with new actors.
Okay.
But it was all right. I didn't hate it. But what I thought was interesting was at the start of the movie, because obviously I watched it in Germany, and there was an ad from the German Actors Guild, and because a lot of the German actors in Germany, they don't star in the movies. They just do the voiceover dubbing, right? And they're like, oh, we're going to lose our jobs to AI, and here's our petition against it, because in the future, studios could just take, Troy Baker's voice or Scarlett Johansson's voice, and instead of getting a dub, they could just use AI to convert Scarlett Johansson to German. So like no dub required. There's going to be a lot of disruption with AI. And obviously, one of the stories coming out of Microsoft's layoffs was Microsoft's investing $80 billion in new AI infrastructure. So, that's a lot of NVIDIA GPUs going into that to power artificial intelligence, language models, and all that kind of shit, right? So, even if Microsoft's AI products are trash, like Copilot's trash, whatever, they will at least be powering other people's AI. I think that's Microsoft's play here. But yeah, Rand, before we move to the topics, I think we should clear out some of the super chats.
Okay, well, yeah, because I was talking about Death Stranding too. Because there was some stuff that came here that wasn't for me. It was for my sister. So I had to get her on the phone and being like, what's going on here? So I was just like, all right, whatever. But yeah, Death Stranding, not my game of the year. It was getting close. There were some aspects that was getting close to Expedition 33, but it didn't hit as hard as that game did. So I would say, as of now, Expedition 33 is still my favorite. Death Stranding 2, I really, 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 really enjoyed. I think it's an amazing game. Probably would give it like a 9 or 9.5. There's like fourth wall breaks in this game, Jez.
Do you like that? Some people don't like it.
I mean, I do, but then sometimes I don't, because sometimes Kojima's threading this line of trying to be serious, but then also like you get some things
Did
that
you
are
just
Joker.
Jokerize
Yeah. Like,
why so serious?
Where it's like, all right, well, it's like we want to be serious, but then there's just some stuff in here that's just so absurd. It's like you're trying to tread that line very carefully, and yeah, I mean, there's like fourth wall breaks. There's all this other sort of stuff, and it's just like, okay, well, some of it lands and some of it for me didn't. But you can't say that like he didn't put it all out there. But yeah, so I think it'd be number 2 or number 3, depending on where I sit with like Split Fiction at this point. Which I mean, I love Split Fiction, but I feel like Split Fiction is going to be buried. The upcoming like game of the year contender talk. Like, I think it'll be nominated, but there's so many great games this year. I feel like It Takes Two winning when it did in 2021 will just be like, well, we gave them their win. So even though I think Split Fiction's a better game, it's just like, yeah, maybe we'll give them the token nomination, but realistically, it's between this, Expedition 33 and Death Stranding 2, with maybe potentially, judging from how people talk about it, I don't know, Donkey Kong? People are talking up Donkey Kong. That comes out next week.
In the chat talking about Donkey Kong.
I mean, of course, he's a Nintendo guy, so of course he's talking about Donkey Kong. So, I mean, I guess we'll see about where that lands, and, so... I mean, I still...
it's interesting you
65
mention...
hours, so I just wonder if it's like... Would I have continued on after they beat the game to 5-star everything else? Because you're probably looking at another... probably 15, 20 hours. Would I have done it? I don't know. Maybe I would have, but...
I mean, if there's no extra story, then what's the point?
I mean, there is some, like, there's a couple extra things you can do that, like, have a big boss fight or a mystery or something that you can solve. But they also, too, required you to level up an area to level 5 stars. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. Whatever. I'll look it up on YouTube, right? Which I did.
Fair enough.
So you said, let's take a look at some of these super chats. We'll get into everything. We got Jeff O. Super chat. He says, just wanted to give you guys a shout out for the great interview with Colin. It was refreshing to hear an intelligent discussion regarding the gaming industry without devolving into fanboy direct. Keep up the great work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Colin kind of falls afoul of what I fall afoul of sometimes, where it's like just being taken out of context when being kind of blunt, I guess. But like the way people talk about Colin online, you'd think like he had never had anything pleasant to say about Xbox, but that's just not Colin at all. We had a really, really, reasonable, fair debate about aspects of Xbox and PlayStation's ecosystem, and Colin's got tons of criticism to leverage at PlayStation,
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was a good talk.
We got Rave Damos, who says, does one Fallout 3 remaster make up for 3 canceled games? Hashtag wordplay, hashtag smash the like, hashtag LFG. Well, I would say no. One, because the Fallout 3 remaster was in the works before the cancelizations happened anyways, so I don't think that makes up for it. Obviously, there are people out there that don't care about Fallout that will look at something like Perfect Dark or Everwild and be like, I wanted those games, not more Fallout. And I guess we don't really know if, hey, the reason they cancel these games is so they could throw more budget at more Fallout games. I mean, okay, you know what? We'll jump off here since this is a good thing. The whole more Fallout game stuff, Jez, right?
Yeah.
This comes to us from... I think I originally saw it on Insider Gaming, right? And... So recently, during an episode of SkillUp's Friends Per Second podcast, it was claimed that multiple Fallout games are in development. VGC's Jordan Midler on the show claims several Fallout games are being pieced together. He says, Fallout is the big one. I cannot believe they didn't immediately start to work on Fallout 5. There are multiple Fallout projects in development, including, as far as I'm aware, the one that you're all wanting, but it's not far enough along to say anything that's like, you're going to be playing this anytime soon. So, not really that much there, but other than, like, I guess you can guess the one that you're all wanting, which I think is, the one he'd be referring to isn't so much Fallout Shelter 2, right? But Fallout New Vegas 2.
Yeah.
But then I did see Chris Avallone come out and say, while doesn't work at Obsidian, he knows all their projects and upcoming things, and he says they're not working on a Fallout game, or they're not working on New Vegas 2. And I think he even said, like, you probably wouldn't even like it if they even did make it, or something along those lines.
Oh, yeah, because he's so objective when it comes to Obsidian.
Yeah.
Um, but I, I I know a little bit about this for my
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Um,
Tell us. Tell us
I
what you
don't
know.
I don't know if Jordan Midler was referring to New Vegas 2. I haven't heard that Obsidian's working on anything specifically Fallout related. They've got their hands full with, other projects. They could be working on it, but I don't know. But what I do know is that Fallout 5 is fully greenlit now. And
Who's making
if
Fallout 5?
well, this is it, you see. I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is that, or at least this is what I heard. So when Microsoft was looking at ZeniMax's MMO, which was doing really well, to really get it,
The canceled MMO that they just
the
canceled,
cancel, the
Blackbird,
cancelled MMO,
right? Blackbird.
Blackbird, right?
Okay, yeah. So this is
Blackbird, the cancelled MMO.
one that was in pre-production for a while.
Yeah,
The one that and
pre-production.
Mike Straw, who was the studio head, left over it when they canceled the project that apparently
Yeah,
everybody loved and was super high on. And
yeah,
then 2 months later, they canceled the game. So okay, so this has to do with that then.
yeah, kind of.
Okay,
So what I heard is, and MMOs are very expensive to make, extremely expensive to make, and you've got to compete with the existing MMOs out there. World of Warcraft being one of them, Final Fantasy 14, Realm Reborn, that kind of thing, right? And also like competing with itself, Elder Scrolls Online. So when it comes to the addressable audience for an MMO, that kind of thing, it was like, from what I heard, it was a case of, do we want to sink a ton of money into getting this to a point where it can compete with the established players on the market? Or do we want to allocate that investment towards making Fallout 5?
okay,
And from what I heard, it was a case of trade-offs, and that the program to expand Fallout 5 and just Fallout in general, that's where they've decided to make the investments, and where the money will be, you know, translate into more of a surefire win. Because obviously, if you have an MMO and it doesn't resonate for whatever reason, maybe the game plays well into vertical slice, but it doesn't actually entice that audience. Maybe it doesn't actually result in an actually, good finished product. Maybe it just takes too long to fill out the whole world of content, because MMOs have to be like big, huge games, right? And it's like, do we fund this or do we fund Fallout sequel? And probably, if I'm hearing that they've made that trade-off, is that not potentially a new studio doing it? Because obviously, Bethesda's core teams are still working on Starfield, as I said earlier.
I mean, are
And
they
also,
though? Are they? I mean, I've seen people now
they are.
suggest that they've left Starfield in the dust
No, Starfield's gonna have more DLC from what I've
this
heard.
year, next year. I mean,
I don't know when. I don't know when. I just
okay,
heard that at least the Starfield DLC, and this is post layoffs, by the way. So as far as I know, Starfield DLC hasn't been cancelled. And it could be cancelled in the future, next quarter. I don't know, but for right now, it's not cancelled. So the core teams at Bethesda right now, they're working on Starfield DLC, and also Elder Scrolls 6 is full steam ahead. Obviously, that's a very, very important game for Microsoft as well. So in my mind, and if this is true, take it with a pinch of salt, because it's sort of not really enough information that I can put on Windows Central, not multiple sources. This is just sort of podcast back and forth, right? Um, uh, if it's true, then I would assume that you're spinning up a new team for that, right? Um,
right, yeah.
maybe some of the Elder Scrolls Online developers end up working on that side, working on a new Fallout game, because we've been saying for years, Rand, that not having a structure in place for Fallout has got to be one of Microsoft's biggest cock ups.
I mean,
I mean,
it's gotta be their biggest miss. Like something
yeah,
that,
no,
bro. I don't know the way maybe I think about it. I mean, this could be 100% wrong. It was like they acquire Bethesda, and Fallout's always been a big franchise, right? But then they looked at the roadmap, and it's like, okay, we got Starfield, which, you know, they were very, very high on. Then we're going to do Elder Scrolls, which is, you know, their biggest franchise. And it was like, okay, Fallout's going to come, but it's going to come later. We want to keep Todd happy. Todd is also pretty much out there saying, you know, he doesn't really like people playing in his playground, right? Maybe they was like, yeah, well, we don't want to rock the boat, so we'll let Todd do Todd. And if he doesn't want anybody to really do Fallout, then okay, we'll hit up the plan, and Fallout 5 will happen after Elder Scrolls 6, because Todd did say he has like a one-pager on it, right?
Well, my thought process is like, Todd is the producer, right? I mean, yeah, he's writer as well and all that kind of stuff. But in my mind, it's like if the core of Elder Scrolls 6 is done or approaching being done.
Well, I don't think that's true. That's not going to be true for a while.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, has
has
Elder Scrolls 6 even hit full production yet?
I don't know. I've heard it's quite playable.
Well, I mean, but quite playable doesn't necessarily mean, you know. I'm sure there are aspects of the game that are playable for sure. You know.
We'll put it this way: I was when we put it out that I was expecting when we did our predictions for the showcase, and we were like, we expect Elder Scrolls to be there.
Well, no.
For me,
don't get it twisted. I was been saying that all year though. That had nothing to do with anything I heard behind the scenes.
Well, it for me it was an educated guess.
Because a lot of times you can't take a prediction without thinking that there's something behind it. So that's what you got to know about Jez sometimes. I'll throw stuff out there and see if it sticks. Some stuff I might know, some stuff I won't. And I was like, all right, Elder Scrolls, let's go. Clearly I was wrong. But when I originally started talking about that, there was no stuff I was hearing behind the scenes. It was like, okay, this will be what it goes. And then all of a sudden Jez was like, I'm hearing this. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm right. But I wasn't, because I was wrong. You know, but it was just a guess anyways.
Yeah. It was an educated guess for me. But, you know, it didn't pan out. I have no idea how far along Elder Scrolls 6 is. I mean, Bethesda sourcing is quite difficult to come by, generally speaking. But, you know, like I said, this is just rumor mill stuff for the podcast. But it does sound like, you know, they've just sort of like, how do we not have an on-ramp for the TV show here? And obviously Fallout 76 is, you know, fine and dandy.
Is it?
But what you really want... Yeah, it is.
Is it really a good onboarding tool for new players? Is it though? New to the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. Okay, it's not ideal. Let's put it that way. But it does have fishing at least.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, fishing now. Okay, yeah. Now it's a 10 out of 10 game of the year candidate for Jez.
I've put a lot of hours.
Any dev want a 10 out of 10 in there? Just put fishing in there for him, and he'll rate it highly.
Yeah. I put a lot of hours in the 76.
You probably would love Halo more than Gears if you could fish for science fiction fish in Halo. If
you
Master Chief could just like
in one of the Halo games,
bust out a fishing rod and just start fishing for Covenant fish.
Isn't in one of the Halo games you can like shoot fish?
Maybe.
And they like die. Like a little detail. That could count as fishing, kind of. But anyways, yeah, Fallout 76 is not the most ideal onboarding experience for people coming in from the TV show. And like you said on the podcast, even your, you know, non-gaming family were intrigued about Fallout because of the TV show. Mm-hmm. And millions of other people were as well. Yep. I mean, Minecraft has had more players than ever on the back of that movie, which, let's be honest, not the best movie in the universe.
But it didn't need to be. It was just good enough for the audience it was trying to capture.
Yeah, I enjoyed the fucking movie, man. I'm also a huge Jack Black fanboy, but I quite enjoyed the movie. But anyways, yeah, it does seem like Fallout 5 is the project. I don't know.
That is super interesting, because to me that implies that I'm not saying that Todd wouldn't be involved in it, but that the idea of a
Well,
Fallout.
put it this way, right?
But
You've got a lot of Fallout writing alumni
sure,
within Microsoft now. You've got
sure,
Brian Fargo, you've got Josh Sawyer, Obsidian. You've got Brian
right.
Fargo in Exile. There's a ton of Fallout DNA within that sort of universe, right? But there's also like Todd didn't write the whole thing himself.
True.
There's like a team of writers. So in my head, this is how something like that plays out. Is like Todd does the overarching story beats, and then you have sort of like other writers come in to, do side quests, flesh out dialogue trees, that kind of thing. I don't think it has to all fall on Todd to deliver a Fallout 5. But what I think it does need is a new team, because if you've got one team full bore into Elder Scrolls 6, and let's just assume, Rand, that Elder Scrolls 6 is moving into full production, the team that sort of did the pre-production stuff like concepting, writing, recording voiceovers, organizing that aspect of development, they're probably like winding down some aspects of their work on Elder Scrolls 6, if not now, then in the future. They need a new project to work on, and that project, by all accounts, is going to be Fallout 5. So I do think, but then it's like, when does that shit launch?
Well, yeah, I mean, typical
5
what?
years, 6 years,
Typical,
7 years?
yeah, typical. I mean, that's the thing about, well, it's either we're waiting until Todd's ready to do it after Elder Scrolls 6, which would put that game at probably 2033, maybe, right? If you figure Elder Scrolls 6 is 2028, maybe 5 years for Fallout 5, so 2033, right around there. It could be 2032, could be 2034, whatever. That's a long time from now. Does the TV still exist? Did you miss your window to blow up the Fallout franchise because you had no Fallout games prepped, right?
I think, you know what I think, Rand? I think the TV show maybe made Todd feel a bit more relaxed to hand off aspects of it to other people.
I also sort of feel like they had
cooked, man.
They had maybe they thought the show wasn't gonna be any good because they didn't even have a remaster ready to go in 2021, or when did the show come out? 2024, I think it was. Yeah, 2024.
Was it only a year ago?
Yeah, which is why people are surprised that the show's coming this December, because people were expecting it to be like April or whatever of 2026. And
well, I mean, there's Michael Bayliss in chat says, what if it was co-developed with Obsidian? And Obsidian, people at Obsidian would have knowledge of the engine, right? Assuming they're gonna keep using Creation Engine for it. And I don't know why they wouldn't use it. But, there's an argument that maybe they switched to Unreal Engine, given that Oblivion was on Unreal Engine, right? I think, I remember correctly.
Oblivion?
But I don't know.
Isn't Oblivion
was
game,
Oblivion?
bro?
No, the remake. Wasn't that on Unreal Engine? Or am I going crazy?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was, but it, I think it was. But I mean,
obviously Obsidian is very Unreal Engine coded now as well. Sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people want New Vegas.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, it's like one of the things that I think we both criticize Microsoft for is not having a plan for Fallout. I mean, it's clear as day. Something should have been done. They acquired Bethesda in 2021. It really seemed like, I don't know, they were gonna just wait until Todd was ready to do it, and then the success of the TV show happened, and suddenly you're like, oh shit, we need to get some things in production. We need to capitalize on this. And Fallout 3 Remaster is one of them, but who knows how close that is. Maybe they make a Fallout Shelter 2, because Fallout Shelter made them a lot of money, right? Maybe it's like, okay, well, new mobile game.
There already is a Fallout Shelter 2.
Is there?
But it's China exclusive for some reason.
Maybe I think it's like that releases everywhere. So then you got the Fallout Shelter 2. I know everybody wants the New Vegas 2. Maybe that happens with Obsidian. Maybe the Avowed team makes it. Or I don't know. I mean, we got Outer Worlds coming this year, so you got both teams maybe potentially needing something to work on, and maybe one of them starts to work on New Vegas 2 or something. But like Jess said, if you're going to Fallout 5, and if like Todd and the Bethesda team can't do it, when it's like, well, then you need to build a new team, and it's like, all right, so now they see the value in like, okay, like let's do this, because one
I
can
think
argue,
there's a ton of Fallout coming. There's
yeah.
a
So it
ton of it.
sounds it just like it makes you wonder what the discussions were like before all this
I think
happened.
76 is getting more as well.
I
Because
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
is one thing you have to remember with the layoffs and the cancellations and stuff like this. It's not like Microsoft's investing less in content. It's just they've kind of decided there's probably safer bets to place at this point. And some of it's like, instead of Perfect Dark, we could invest more in Fallout 76, which is proven. Instead of Everwild, we could invest more in Sea of Thieves, which is proven. And, one of the things that happened this week was there was a big update about Sea of Thieves and what they're
yeah.
doing there. They're adding custom servers, and they're changing up a lot of the way they work with insiders and all this kind of stuff. And they were saying like they
They're
even
basically
like
doing like Minecraft realms with it, right? Where you could like
yeah,
custom paid servers and stuff, and
custom paid servers, and they were very candid about it. They were like, we haven't been focusing on Sea of Thieves as much as the game deserves. And part of me was wondering, like, is that them admitting that Everworld was taking attention away from Sea of Thieves or something? I don't know. But obviously, new projects are really important. But I think at the same time, there are bets to be made within Microsoft's IP stable that are just stronger bets to make, like Fallout. I have no idea why Fallout 5, why they didn't already have a team in place for Fallout 5. Like, if it was me, I wouldn't have been like, and I know it was different times back then, but I wouldn't have been like, let's invest in, Perfect Dark. I would have been like from the outset, as soon as I had Bethesda on board, I would have been like, we need to invest in getting another Fallout, another Bethesda team that can pump out Fallout games, because they really underestimated the IP, man. And I don't blame them for not having faith in the TV show, because I fucking didn't. I thought the TV show was going to be trash, and I think a lot of other people did as well, because video game adaptations are almost always trash. But they got a fucking unicorn with that shit, man. A unicorn. And it's a rare thing where you can sit there and say, we have a hit TV show based around one of our video game IPs, and we've got nothing to onboard people with, except Fallout 76, which is not for everyone,
I mean, I guess they did
So I think,
time the Fallout 4 next gen patch to kind of coincide with the TV show, right?
yeah,
Because that's when that came out. But yeah, I think people were looking for a new experience, and maybe you get that. I mean, the thing is, it's like,
next gen patch was not even that well received. It felt rushed out, you
yeah.
know.
I guess it's like,
Um,
question is, how long is it until the Fallout 3 remaster? And considering how much the Oblivion remaster did, which I still think is it's like one of the best selling games of the year. I think it's like top 5, maybe.
it really surprised Microsoft how well Oblivion did as well.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like
then you.
sometimes it's like they don't know what they have sometimes.
Yep. I remember back in like 2016 when they thought Gears 4 would be the talk of everything, and it was Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah.
Completely shocked them by how well Forza Horizon 3 did, and then like look at it now. Forza Horizon's bigger than Gears, bigger than Halo,
Yep. Yep.
realistically.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And you line up the IPs that
And
are super popular, and he's like, there's Fallout, but it's like
Fallout is like
they don't have
Fallout
anything.
is
It's like, all right.
yeah. Fallout is like the perfect franchise to have like multiple genres of games. You got the mobile play with Fallout Shelter, you've got the online play with 76, and you've got the single player long tail not MMO, open world game with the mainline games. And then you could even like fucking remaster Fallout 1 and 2, and then you've got a good turn-based tactical game for cloud or whatever. Um, it's a multifaceted franchise that deserves to be treated as a flagship product. I think Fallout is, you know, outside of like some of the Blizzard stuff, it's their biggest IP, you know. In fact, it's probably bigger than the Blizzard stuff these days, you know. It's a huge IP with so much lore, so much potential. That's where you put your investment. And, you know, they're doing it now. Hindsight's 2020, right?
Sure,
But
sure,
yeah.
absolutely. All right, so got a super chat here from Craig on my ego. Love the
What?
show. How many of just Xbox got laid off? I mean, I think the only numbers we have was that it wasn't the majority,
Yeah,
which puts it
the
like what,
only
less than 4,500, which isn't really it's like it's anywhere between 1 and 4,500, I guess, which is a
yeah,
wide gap.
I I don't they've never shared hard numbers on exactly how many people were laid off um from Xbox specifically. But if you look at like, you know, how many people were employed at those studios, I would say it's at least a few hundred,
I
you
would
know.
I would guess the numbers in the thousands.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I feel like LinkedIn would be more of a bloodbath if it was. But a lot of the layoffs seem to target middle management. And they said this in their press release that it was like about reducing managerial layers. And like a lot of really good friends of mine were really sadly
Was this
impacted about this.
before or after they said it was we've had more players than ever and we're making more money than ever and blah 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 blah? Was that before or after they said that they're doing better than ever? But by the way, you're fired.
Yeah, I mean, they said they got more playtime hours than ever. They never really spoke about more profit than ever. And
Well,
I think that's pretty key,
I mean, they don't
right?
talk about profit with Xbox, so
No, they don't. And this is one of the issues with more playtime hours than ever. You don't have to pay to play online anymore. And there's a lot of people on these platforms, PlayStation and Xbox, and probably increasingly Nintendo Switch, who play a free to play game and don't spend any money. And I can't remember the term for it, but it's users that are just zero monetization. And that's becoming an issue for them. So don't be surprised if, like, in the future, you start seeing, if you are someone who doesn't pay to play online and you're not buying microtransactions, don't be surprised if you start seeing ads in games like Fortnite and Roblox, like a mobile games. That's something that the industry is looking at next. But you know, um, it just sucks, man. Just sucks. But 40 games in development, you know, and more Fallout.
that's right. We have Felipe who says the Game Pass model is the same as Direct TV. Old people with VHS, Xbox One pay for subscription. I don't see a future for Game Pass in the next generations. So wait, he says the Game Pass model is the same as Direct TV. Old people with VHS, Xbox One pay for the subscription. He says old
Mm.
people with the VHS Xbox One pay for the subscription. I disagree with that.
I mean,
Um,
you can just do the maths. Like they've said how many people are using the service. It's around 35 million. They've also said most people are on Game Pass Ultimate. So like even if you do like a conservative estimate and just do like half the people are on Ultimate and half the people are not, it works out to like hundreds of millions of dollars a month of revenue. And because a lot of the games that are in there are first party, they don't have to pay for that content. And then for the content that isn't first party, it's like one upfront fee. They know exactly how much they got coming in and they know exactly how much they got going out. Like it's a good business model. It just the debate around it just revolves around like, does it hurt games? Does it make people feel like they don't have to pay for games anymore? You know, does it lower the value of games, like how Spotify lowers the value of music? You know, that's where the debate tends to fall. Is like, is this good for devs? Because obviously it's good for consumers, right? As a consumer, I freaking love Game Pass. Um, it's on Microsoft to really make sure that it remains sustainable, and also remains healthy for the industry at large. You know, so it's an interesting debate. I suppose we'll talk about it in a bit.
We got Wagerman, who says, "Hey guys, now that some time has passed from the layoffs, the chatter has died down. Smaller studios didn't get shut down. Do you see a future where these still play an important part in the Xbox lineup?" Well, it's died down because everybody's got their clicks and stuff off of it, right? It was big news for last week, but the news cycle's 24/7. So it's old news at this point. So we knew it died down eventually. It was only a matter of time, and it's been a week, so like you can't really. I mean, bad Xbox news. People click on it, which is why it's so prevalent, and especially in an era where Sony and Nintendo really don't say much. The smaller studios I think they play an important part of the lineup, and I guess I'll focus on that word important. And what does that really mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
Well, because if he would have said, hey, I think if Wagerman's question was, do you see a future where those games still play a part in Xbox's lineup? I'd be like, yeah, of course. Right? There's always room for more games. There's always room for potentially, a really, really good game that you had no idea was going to be a thing, right? I guess then you debate the merits of the word important. In regards to important to who, I guess. Important to Microsoft and Xbox. Important to fanboys on Twitter so they can play list wars. Important to just gamers in general. So there's a lot of answers you could really focus on depending on who it's important to. So if you just base it off of, I'm a gamer and I want to play great games, yeah, they're important. I think Clockwork Revolution would be an important release. Just like I thought Hellblade 2 was an important release. And South of Midnight was an important release because it was okay, you bought these studios, want to see the investment that you put in them and why you made them first party. And you can tell, hey, the difference between We Happy Few and Contrast versus South of Midnight, it's there. It's just just a little bit more. Maybe the next game, then you could really get over that hump and be a more of a critical darling or more of a commercial success. Same thing with Hellblade. And Clockwork Revolution, I think, is a game that's potentially going to take In Exile to the next level if it's as good as the trailer suggests it might be. Then it's important in that regard. Important to the studio, important to people who like to just play good games. Important. It'll always be important to the fanboy list wars. Because list wars never end, even with Microsoft being multi-platform and Sony flirting with the idea of putting games on Xbox. Right?
Flirting, that's a good word.
I mean, because it's all right, they're touching toes, underneath the table, right? They're doing some things. They're looking in each other's eyes wistfully and longingly. But is it going to be?
That's a weird image.
I mean, Sony's up there rubbing Microsoft and Xbox's leg underneath the table. Will it lead to more? Will it lead to a rendezvous in the bedroom with the clothes off, and it's a full exchange of bodily fluids, aka games? We don't know. We don't know where that's gonna go. But I'm just saying, they're flirting. They're in that flirting stage right now. Microsoft's have it all. Sony's kind of playing a little hard to get a little bit.
Oh my god, damn.
So it's is Helldivers 2 the end? Is Helldivers 2 a signal of more to come? And it's yeah, okay, well, sure, we I think there's a good chance. And even when Colin talked about on the show, the live service games, and he even sort of be like, I wouldn't be surprised if Fair Games is like day one on Xbox. If you look at the live service stuff, you want that to be everywhere. Although he was a little very pushback against the idea of like the single player stuff, right? Like the Spider-Man or the God of Wars and stuff, which I think we disagree because my argument was like, I don't think that affects PlayStation in a negative way. If you put a 7-year-old God of War on Xbox or something, I don't think suddenly not saying PlayStation fans wouldn't lose their minds on Twitter or social media like they would, but I don't really think it's that big of an audience on the social media aspect, considering how PlayStation is very dominant in like Europe and other places, and it's like I don't really think that would affect its business too much. Colin disagreed. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, we talked about it last week, and it's fun to kind of think about and kind of game plan or predict the future of what games could and what games might and what makes sense and what doesn't. And I mean, it's just kind of fun to talk about in an era where there were so many people being like, it will never happen. Never. And then you think like people would get used to never using that word because it really puts you in a box. Really puts you in the corner.
I am 100% like on the record. I thought for a fact.
I know you did.
Helldivers would never come to Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's just no way Sony would do this.
And then it did.
Then it did. Then it happened.
But then it's like, good point that was brought up. It was like, well, what if they just waited? If they just waited, it would have been on Xbox through Steam.
But then it's just like, why not cut out the middleman? And
but who's the middleman? But who's? I mean, you're either getting 30%. You're either getting 30% from. It's either Steam's getting 30% or Microsoft's getting 30%. So what middleman are you cutting out here?
I've got thoughts about this because the next gen Xbox is more like a PC, right?
But yes.
And what's Microsoft's cut on PC?
8812, I believe, or 9010 or something.
It's not 30%.
Sure.
It's 12.
But that's but that's assuming that that's going to be the store they'll use there, which maybe it will be.
I think it will be.
I mean,
it will be.
We don't know, but I'm just saying. I get your point. The point being, like, you get a bigger cut if you bring your games there, and maybe it's. But then Steam also has. They offer lower cuts too the more you sell, right? Isn't that the whole thing? Like the more sales margins or sales milestones you hit, the lower Steam's cut becomes.
Something like that. Like Steam has like a sliding scale, but Xbox is just like, support the PC store and we'll give you 88%, which is, I think that matches Epic Games or something like that. And as Microsoft's business revolves increasingly around first party, with Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and all that kind of stuff. Like the third party business for Microsoft is not as important as it used to be. I think like they are going to do things to make it more important. Like for example, putting ads in free to play games down the line. But I think PlayStation do that as well. And then it's like, is it Xbox making that money or is Epic Games making that money? I don't know, but I do know that like for Microsoft, third party is not a cornerstone of their business is as much as it used to be. It's still important, but it's not like the be all and end all. Like Call of Duty and Candy Crush and Game Pass is now driving the business overall. So, it's different times, and I think in that universe, Microsoft can be like, we can give devs a bigger cut here because we're moving against Steam or whatever, right? But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So, bringing it back to the original question about importance, and I was like kind of going through the tier list of it's important to the studios, it's important to gamers, and obviously going to be important to fanboys for the list wars and stuff, and who you root for and who you cheer for. Is it important to Microsoft? Is it important to Xbox? And that's where you can sort of him and haw a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, Halo's important. Well, even with Halo, you don't even really know anymore. But like Minecraft's important to Xbox and Microsoft. Fallout's going to be
Minecraft,
important. Elder
COD.
Scrolls is going to be important. Gears is important. Forza Horizon is important. Is the next game from Compulsion important in the same way those other games are important? Now, I'm sure like Matt Booty and Phil would say, of course, all of our games are important. But I kind of believe there's like a sliding scale of importance in that regard.
I think like
you know what
the
I mean?
way those sort of, I think the way those, I don't know, I don't want to call them experimental because they're not, but the way those sort of AA games are probably looked at these days is probably a bit more like this is about Game Pass churn more than anything else, you know. And if South of Midnight or you know or
Hellblade 2.
Avowed or whatever, yeah, Hellblade 2, if they can like keep someone subscribed for a month, then for them it's worthwhile, you know, and while also building those studios up, because I do think like, you know, in Exile's going to get to the next level with their game. I do think there's a universe where Compulsion has a big hit in the future, because there is something special about that studio. It's just like, you know, they've got to sort of work through the double A-ness, I suppose, in the interim, right? I do think they get there, and evidently, like in Exile's getting there, and Outer Worlds 2 looks like a huge step up from Outer Worlds 1. You know, I think at some point, if you're a Microsoft, you just kind of have to accept that this is what it's like to be an entertainment company, you know, and sometimes you have to build things up. You know, if you invest in them and make them grow, you can't just buy your way to success all the time, because eventually there's not going to be any studios left to buy, you know. So I think Microsoft views some of that stuff as this is growth. This is like an opportunity. This is opportunities for the future. And, you know, but obviously there are limits to that. And we saw that with Perfect Dark being cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like Perfect Dark was still 2 to 3 years away, and it's like, well, then you have to wonder,
There's
like,
not a
how.
Fallout to fund.
Then you have to wonder, like, how did that game end up in that position? Who's to blame? Is it the developers who are working on it? Is it the creative leads in charge not knowing what they wanted, or getting replaced and being like, well, we're doing this, but now there's a new creative director, game director, so now we got to pivot to this? Was it the leadership of the studio, like Matt Gallagher, or was it Daryl Gallagher? You know, was it him? Was it head of Xbox Game Studios, who at the time, you know, was Matt Booty, or who eventually became the big boss? Or, you know, was it Alan Hartman, who was head of Xbox Game Studios? It's like, I sort of wonder, like, you're a new studio. Granted, okay, COVID happened, sure, but you can't really blame that anymore. It's been 5 years after that point, and they've even said we can't do that anymore. So why is the game taking as long as it did? And it's like, sometimes, I mean, that's the one that disappointed me of any game that has ever been canceled by Xbox, was that game, because it seemed like such a Rand game, a Deus Ex,
yeah, stealthy
stealth,
kind of.
yeah, a game that we don't get a lot of anymore. With
espionage.
So seeing it being shown off, and whether or not it was real or fake, as you know, people talked about it, even though they said it was real in that sense, but just being like, man, it does make me think, like, what happened? What happened at that studio that you built in 2018? Like, we're doing this studio to do X, Y, and Z things, and then here we are in 2025, and it's canceled. And it's like, once you cancel it, you can't keep the studio open because there's no money coming in because they don't have any other projects. It just seems like a huge, gigantic waste of time and money at that point, you know?
It's not fun.
Yeah, and it's just like, I would love to know what went wrong with that game. Maybe someone writes a post-mortem about all the juicy details of of all that stuff. And then I started to think about Crystal Dynamics. Like, what are they going to do? I mean, I know they're working on Tomb Raider with Amazon, but even some of the rumors suggest that that game's not going swimmingly. And Embracer,
maybe that's part of it. Maybe they were just like Crystal Dynamics not doing great, splitting their time between these projects and stuff.
I don't know.
Do you know Microsoft got burned in the past with Platinum when they're doing Scalebound, and it was like
hey, but they're working with Platinum now on Ninja Gaiden 4. It's coming. And even that said, I think they said what took 6 years or something like that. Or maybe not necessarily the game itself, but some along those lines. All right, so we got let's see, we got Juan who says, I loved Avowed, especially by the end. I was addicted to the gameplay, but then it ended. It should have had seasonal expansions like Sea of Thieves. I think
which game?
Avowed.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were probably holding off on waiting to see if Avowed reached certain milestones before they were going to do any DLC stuff. Because sometimes you'll get it in a game, especially when considering they sold like a $100 version of the game, but didn't come with DLC, very much like how they sold a $100 version of Forza Horizon that came with 2 expansions, or the $100 version of Starfield which came with the first expansion, or the $100 version of Doom Eternal, Doom Dark Ages, which came with an expansion, right? Usually their $100 versions of games come with some DLC of some kind.
Season pass, yeah.
So when this one didn't, and it was just kind of cosmetics for your characters, it wasn't really anything else, I sort of wondered if it, like, the DLC or expansions weren't in the roadmap, so they couldn't promise it. And they weren't going to either, it was either going to be, the fate of it was going to be left up to, like, how well the game does. So
I really think, right, they should have called it Pillars of Eternity Avowed. Because I think just one of the issues with Avowed is that sort of, what is this game? It's like the we used to talk about the difficulty of getting a new IP to cut through the zeitgeist, right? And I know Pillars of Eternity is not exactly the most popular IP in the universe, but at least it would be potentially a familiar face for people seeing the game pop up on Steam or wherever else, right? I don't remember seeing any marketing for that game whatsoever, at all.
I don't know.
So,
I mean, I can see your point, but then also there might have been some. I'm sure they probably workshop some of the names because I mean, I'll just tell you my feelings about it. If it was called Pillars of Eternity Avowed, I would be less inclined to play it.
Because you'd think it was...
Because it's... And I already know it's part of the Pillars universe, but if you're calling it Pillars of Eternity Avowed, and I haven't played the 2 previous Avowed games, or the 2 previous Pillars games, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not playing this game. And I think that's probably the reason why it's just called Avowed. Because they're trying to attract new users. And it's like the Pillars fans know that the game's already set in the universe. So you don't need to call it Pillars for them because they already know. And if you're trying to attract new people, basically calling it Pillars 3 would probably be a turnoff.
Well, maybe it should be like Lucius in chat says, Avowed, a Pillars of Eternity story.
Yeah, I don't think that really works very well. That works for podcasts when you name something like Xbox, the XB2, an Xbox podcast or something, or Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. I don't necessarily think that works in the TV show or movie space or what have you, where it's like Avowed, a Pillars of Eternity. Yeah, I don't think that really works. I mean, it's a good suggestion, podcast. But I don't really think so. It's like, yeah, they called it Avowed because they wanted new people to play it.
Fair enough.
And that's pretty much it. What else we got here? We have Rave Damos says, if you were the overseer of a Fallout Vault XB2, and could choose one video game for your vault dwellers, which game would you want them to have? Huh. Interesting.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I figured that would be your answer. But can you play World of Warcraft? There's no internet, so how could you play it?
Oh, there's no internet.
Well, I'm
Shit.
just assuming there's no internet in the vault.
Well, you could have a
What,
local
we could have
server,
intranet, so you could have a
private server.
local server. So everybody,
Okay, well, the answer is Minecraft, isn't it?
I
Really?
mean, yeah, kind of. Because I was thinking, what if I gave him Bioshock, but then would they play Bioshock and want to overthrow the vault and leave the vault, and would they listen to the teachings of Andrew Ryan and being like, well, yeah, what are we here for, right? The sweat of my brow, So maybe that's the wrong game to give him. Maybe I would give him something like, you know what? Maybe I'd give him like Fallout 3 or Oblivion.
Well, that's very
Something like that, Something that's as long as you want to make it yourself and go from there. Yeah, so thanks for anybody that sent a super chat. We appreciate it. Jez, there's some stuff here that we sort of need to talk about. Halo is in the news again. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, I actually did talk a little bit about that when you're answering the door, but we can talk about it here in more detail. So what exactly was the report, Rand?
So
regale us.
Rebs Gaming put out a report here, and he's, I think, like a Halo YouTuber-ish. I'm not exactly sure of his credibility, although it seems like people trust what he says, so we'll just go with that. He said he received information from 2 sources connected to the Halo developers regarding the Halo Combat Evolved remake, and that they revealed that the development of Halo Combat Evolved started in 2023, with the planned anniversary project set for release in 2026, which is, Phil kind of hinted at that in the showcase. And but the news that everybody's focused on, at least regard to the Halo CE stuff, is that the remake will feature only a campaign mode and may potentially be released on PlayStation as well. So, of course, people have opinions about this specifically. I will mention he also talks about, in terms of multiplayer, he talked about 343's canceled Battle Royale mode for Infinite, which was Project Tatanka. He says that's been handed over to Certain Affinity, and the game development studio has rebranded it as a separate multiplayer game using UE5, which is currently codenamed Project Ecore.
That rings a bell.
Rebs Gaming then refers to a recent post from a Halo data miner, Grunt.api, that teased the title ID code for the name. When asked about its significance, the source confirmed that it pertains to Ecore and indicated that the game has been receiving updates approximately every 6 hours in the past few days.
Interesting.
And then he talked about Halo 7. He says he believes that Halo 7 is currently in pre-production and will likely be an indirect sequel, but that don't expect the game to release until the next generation of Xbox consoles have launched. He also debunked some Halo Infinite rumors. I guess he said the first rumor was that the multiplayer mode of Halo Infinite was being ported to UE5, and sources said they haven't heard anything about that and it wasn't happening. And the second rumor was that Halo Infinite is getting ported to PlayStation, but I guess those sources said that it's not happening, or they are unaware of those things. So a lot of Halo breakdown here. I guess we'll go with the first one about the Halo CE. And the idea of it not having any multiplayer, which has touched a nerve. It's kind of funny when people talk about this. I just get flashbacks to the reporting that Gears... Well, one, it was the Gears Collection, and then obviously it wasn't Gears Collection, it was Gears 1. But then how it wasn't going to have multiplayer. And then it did have multiplayer. And granted, it's a remaster of Ultimate, which I guess is a difference than a remake of Halo CE. So then I sort of wonder, like, okay, why wouldn't you do a remake of CE? Are you planning on putting, like, Master Chief Collection on there, where people can play those things? Are you worried that you can't faithfully recreate a Halo multiplayer suite? and stay faithful to what Halo 1 multiplayer was, with the overpowered pistol and all that sort of stuff? Are you worried that if you did stay faithful to that modern audiences don't want to play Halo 1 multiplayer? Are you thinking about, well, if we have this other multiplayer standalone game coming soon after, then what point is there to put a multiplayer mode in Halo 1 Remake? I don't know. What do you think, Jez? What do you think? Because I do think not including the multiplayer is an odd choice, but I guess we don't have a full picture of everything, and maybe they do it because, like, well, there's this multiplayer project. What do you think's going on there? Assuming it's all true and stuff, right?
Yeah, assuming it's all true. I mean, it's hard to say like what the logic is with some of that stuff because obviously they've got multiple Halo multiplayer endpoints right now. You've got Infinite, you've got CE. I don't know how updated either of those games are at the moment. Someone in chat will have to give us an update on that if you're still into Halo and stuff. But in my mind, it's like if you are a Microsoft, and it's like, we're remaking Halo Combat Evolved, which is probably the most celebrated Halo. Would you agree?
I mean, I think they're probably. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it's probably the most celebrated. I mean, I guess it even depends on who you ask. Maybe it's Halo 2. But yeah, I mean, it definitely it probably is Halo 1. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, I feel you. But I think like when it comes to multiplayer, how would you handle the multiplayer of Halo CE? Because it's not exactly going to be. It's not like the old school arena shooter. Is not du jour with the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you are like someone who's into that kind of thing, surely like the logic from Microsoft's perspective is we can invest that money in more stuff for Halo Infinite potentially. Or do we?
Are we not that money into Halo Infinite? Come on now.
Yeah, I know, but if you're going to invest it at all, like, do you really want to split the player base there? Because that's kind of what you're arguing for here. So they've kind of got that with Halo Master Chief Collection for that classic experience, even though it's not. I don't think it's 1-to-1 with the OG. But like I said earlier when you were answering the door, that chap on Twitter, Late Night Halo, his take was, no matter how, I'm paraphrasing here, but no matter what they did to deliver this, people will complain, that it wasn't like a perfect reimagining of the original or whatever. Is that an excuse to not even try? I don't know.
Or maybe they did try and it just doesn't play well, or something. You know what I mean? I can't imagine them not. I can't imagine them not.
Multiplayer with it.
Yeah. I can't imagine them not at least trying to do it and see what it would do. Because I mean, if you're going to be building Halo multiplayer games on Unreal, you got to see how those work. So I can't imagine them not like testing it out and seeing it and like being like, all right, how does this feel? I mean, if it is just a Halo CE remake, then that sort of needs to be priced appropriately. Right? I don't think you can release it as a... I mean, hey, Gears Reloaded is going for what, 40? Right? Jez? I believe Gears Reloaded is going for $40. So, and that's got co-op, that's got the campaign, that has the multiplayer. $40.
Yeah.
So if you're talking Halo CE remake, and it's just the campaign, which doesn't have co-op, doesn't have the multiplayer. I mean, that's got to be at maximum 30, right?
I have no idea.
I mean,
no idea.
In comparison to the price that you're doing for Gears. Yeah, maybe they feel the Halo 1's multiplayer just isn't.
Yeah, Paris in chat said Halo C multiplayer would feel extremely dated. I remember like skipping school and then doing 4-player split screen co-op back in the day on that shit.
See,
And
this is why they're in this, like, with Halo in general. They're just at this point where it's either you change things and you piss off the hardcore fans, or you keep things the same and new users and casuals don't like it because it's not modern. Like, they are stuck up against that. And
maybe the play is like, I don't know. If you buy Halo CE, you get some classic skins for Halo Infinite multiplayer or something. Because the whole thing with Halo Infinite was that the multiplayer is a separate client, free to play client, whatever. You know, maybe they do it that way, or you get some currency for Halo Infinite. I think that's probably the way they should look at it. But I don't know. I would not be surprised if that report of it not having multiplayer is completely accurate.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either. I wonder if they would offer Xbox fans being like, hey, if you own Master Chief Collection, you get this for free. Anybody on PC and anybody on Xbox, if you own Halo 1 on Master Chief, you get it for free. Will it be part of Master Chief? Is this like, oh, well, it's not actually part of it, so you have to buy it? And I would expect it to come to PlayStation, right? I mean, no red lines and anything, and what better way to introduce it to other platforms than with the first one? But yeah, like, look, I think I've said it before. I don't really have any interest in Halo CE Remake, just like I don't have any interest in the Gears Remaster. So, I mean, the only interest I have in Halo CE Remake is, how does it look? Really, I don't really have a desire to replay the game again for what would probably be the 7th time. I just don't. As much as like, Halo CE is probably one of my least favorite Halos. I just really wasn't that big of a fan of Halo CE, even though I played it a whole bunch.
I like the bit where he punches, is it keys, in the brains?
So
is it not keys?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Someone ends up in a flood thing.
The flood.
And Master Chief punches his brains out. I like that bit.
And then there's the other part about Certain Affinity making a standalone multiplayer game. Who knows what that is? Repurposed from Tatanka. And that Halo 7 is like an indirect sequel. Of course it'd be an indirect sequel, because that's just par for the course at this point, right? You set things up in the story and you end it, and then you just go in a different direction and you never get follow-up on any of that stuff. Oh, but if you want the follow-up, it's in the books. And it's like, speaking of someone who read the books, it's like, I ain't reading no Halo books. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, number one, I don't care enough.
Yeah, bro.
It's like, I mean, I could read the book, but the thing for me is, I'm the type of person who wants to know everything. I want to know all the backstory so I can understand all the character motivations. So if I were to read Halo, I'd have to start with literally the first Halo book. And there's like 20, 30, there's so many of them. I'm not just going to pick up the book that is like, hey, this is what happens after Halo Infinite. And it's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm sure it'll be summarized somewhere, but they clearly don't care enough to put it in their own games, and all the actual cool stuff happens in the books and the alternate media stuff. So I'm not surprised that Halo 7 is going to be an indirect sequel, because of course that's what they've done with all this sort of stuff recently. And I mean, we'll see whenever that gets revealed and whenever that does release. But I do know that, like, if Halo CE Remake's just single player only, that there will definitely be people who are like, "What the fuck is this shit? Really? No multiplayer?" And like I said, I think they're like stuck between a rock and a hard place, man. Because if they make it faithful, then sure, the hardcore audience is gonna love it, but any new people are just gonna be like, this is not fun. And if they change anything, even if they try to make it as faithful as possible, but there's some things they can't, and there's some slight changes, the hardcore fans will just go ape shit. And then new users are just going to be like, I still don't care about this. But if you want to make any changes to go towards the new users to make it more fun for them, the hardcore are just gonna bitch and just moan constantly. So I don't envy the position Halo Studios is in about what to do with Halo and what to do with the multiplayer, because anything they do is going to be looked at from underneath. Anything they do is going to be put under a microscope, right? And just judged rightly or unfairly, whichever way you have it. When like the goal is to, hey, we need to make money and we need to reach as many people as possible, so we're going to be free to play. But then there are people that are like, just, I don't care, like, you know what Halo is at this point, so it's very tough to draw people in that already don't have an opinion about Halo. And I think Infinite tried, and I think they might have succeeded, but they just had no follow-up plan for it. Because people love...
I think Halo is the most mismanaged IP in Xbox history, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think I would. I think I would agree with that. Considering what Halo meant to Xbox during the OG era and the 360 era. I mean, hell, Bill Gates was threatening Sony with Halo. Like, I don't know if you remember those interviews when they were like, Bill Gates was talking about the 360 and he was just like, Sony better be careful. They might release the PS3 right when we release Halo 3 or whatever. They better be careful. Yeah, like, console warring. Like, Bill Gates was console warring back then. Using like, because Halo was the game in the industry at that point. And, and yeah, I guess you could say from the heights it started at to where it is now, the fall off has been
it's a long fall.
Spectacular. It's still popular, but it will never, ever reach the heights that I think the fans want it to reach. And maybe there are the fans out there that realize that it probably never will, even with it going to other platforms, which is like, okay, we can put it on Switch and we can put it on PlayStation and get more and more people into it. I don't think it ever reaches those same heights. I don't think it can. It's just that there's so much other stuff out there now that does multiplayer better or whatever, or there's more games out there. It's like, yeah, Halo was revolutionary at the time. Halo is not revolutionary now. And there's...
Yeah, I feel Halo fans pain, because it's sort of like that with Warcraft, right? It's nowhere near where it was. It's never going to be back there now. The writing's not as good as it used to be. All that kind of stuff just kind of makes you think, like, how do we ever get back here? Is it even possible that we can get back here? And for my money, probably not. The time has passed for WoW, and maybe the time has passed for Halo as well. And it's just kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with those other projects. I think Halo CE is going to be released next year, and they're talking about showing it off or announcing it at the Halo CE World Series in October.
Yeah, something like that.
So we'll see what they're working on and what it looks like, and it'll release November 15th next year, I would imagine, on the 25th anniversary, even though I think November 15th is a Sunday, which, I mean, I guess, you don't really need to. Yeah, what is November 25th? November 15th is a Sunday, yeah. So, I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter the date. But I would imagine that's the release date for the game. Unless they say the 16th, but I mean, the 15th is when the system launched and when the game launched, so you figured it would be aligned with that. But that's also going to be the 20th anniversary of Gears. So they got the 20th anniversary of Gears and the 25th anniversary of Halo. and they're gonna buy.
Isn't that an Xbox anniversary as well?
Well, yeah, it's the 25th anniversary of Xbox. Halo's 25th anniversary is Xbox's 25th anniversary. It's the same thing.
Oh.
They launched on the same day. But anyways, Jez, I saw your article today. What's going on with Subnautica stuff? The whole
Oh man,
Subnautica drama. Like, so initially they removed like the head of the studio, and then like the head of the studio and some other people were going to sue, but then I guess Crafton came out today or yesterday and said that actually those guys weren't even working on the game, that they were doing side stuff. Like, what's going on with that whole drama?
yeah. So this is a whole thing. Um, so for those who don't know, Subnautica is a survival game set on oceanic alien planet. I actually started playing Subnautica because of this drama. I never really played it before, so I was playing it this morning a little bit. It's kind of fun. It's a bit dated at this point, I think. But it's just similar to Grounded. Surviving, crafting, then crafting more stuff, surviving a bit more, etc., etc. Um, Obviously the sequel, Subnautica 2, was announced for Game Pass. It's day one in Game Pass. Microsoft, I think Microsoft even was announced on Microsoft's stage, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong about that. But yeah, Subnautica 2. People are obviously looking forward to it. Subnautica has a huge fan base, etc. Crafton Inc. of PUBG and Tango Gameworks fame, I suppose, now. They acquired Unknown Worlds, who make Subnautica, a little while ago for hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't know the exact amount. Now, the suggestion was that as part of that deal, Crafton would pay out $250 million to the studio's founders, right? And the studio's founders were planning to distribute that money to all the staff, right? Now, this is where things get dramatic. The allocation of that $250 million was incumbent on the studio heads staying with the game, staying with the studio. But Crafton just fired them all. So how can they get all the developers of the game? How can they get that money? They can't get it now. It's all gone. So with that in mind, obviously the fans are very pissed because the devs are essentially going to lose access to that money. And people thought like Crafton cynically delayed the game. Sorry, they delayed the game to 2026 and fired the heads of the studio so they wouldn't have to pay. So that was the drama that Jason Schreier reported on. Crafton shot back, Rand. Crafton shot back with their own version of events. And they were like, hey, no, this isn't what happened. What happened is the game wasn't ready because the studio heads. Now this is where things get spicy, because when you start accusing people of shit like this, that's when like slander laws start coming in, right? So Crafton allege that the devs, the leaders, weren't even working on the game. They allege that Charlie Cleveland, who's one of the founding members of Unknown Worlds, instead of working on Subnautica 2, he was working on a personal film project. That's what they allege. And obviously, the Charlie Cleveland and the other studio heads that were ousted, they've decided to sue Crafton now. So it's this whole thing, load of drama. I think this is by no means the last we've heard of this shit. I think we're going to be hearing a lot about this in the coming years ahead. But Crafton is sort of like, I don't know. They've been in this position before with lawsuits, because do you remember, Rand, they tried to sue Epic Games over Fortnite? And Crafton is sort of, I don't know, an interesting studio when it comes to these kind of situations where they play dirty, for lack of a better word. So with PUBG, they were like, we're going to play dirty and sue Epic Games, but then they realized, oh shit, it's not going to pan out. And now people aren't giving them the benefit of the doubt over this situation either, because it's like it seems like they basically cheated the whole studio out of $250 million payout. Because one of the things the devs were saying was the game is ready to be launched into early access, which is the milestone they needed to hit in order to get this money. So yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a load of craziness and loads of drama, and probably not the last we're going to be hearing about it. But yeah, the goodwill that Crafton had acquired by saving Tango Gameworks, they've just spaffed that up the wall with this whole situation. Because now you got Subnautica fans calling for boycotts, saying boycott the game, don't buy it. You know, they had tens of thousands of upvotes on Reddit, and it hit the front page of Reddit. So people ain't happy, bro. Yeah, that's the whole drama
Yeah,
there.
sounds like it. Yeah, sounds like a big clusterfuck, really.
Yeah, it's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I wonder what's gonna come out of all that. I mean, people love Subnautica, and they were quite looking forward to Subnautica too. So it being delayed, but I think they even said the game could have launched in early access already.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's
Yeah,
like
but then it's
that
not.
Crafton lied that it wasn't ready. That's why people are pissed,
Yeah,
because it seems like Crafton lied about it, so they didn't have to pay this bonus out.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know what's gonna come out of all that. At all. But hey, guys, do us a big favor. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let everybody know that we are live. Jez, I don't know if you saw this little bit of info, but Arcane Lyon's financials information kind of came out or was released.
I didn't see.
And the tidbit that was interesting was, one, they didn't have any layoffs or any significant layoffs. I don't think anybody really got laid off from the company.
No.
But they started full production on Blade in like fall of 2024. Right? And so I saw people being like lamenting that, oh my God, Blade won't come to 2029, right? Because they're thinking, oh, if they're starting production, then AAA game takes 4, 5, 6 years, right? So they're like, oh my God, it's not going to come till 2028, 2029, 2030, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then a lot of like industry people are like, no. Pre-production is usually the longest phase of development. And, you know, they're in full production. And even in the article, even in the financial statements, they basically get a tax credit if they release the game by November of 2027. So it sounds like the release date they're aiming for is November 2027.
Oh, is that from the French government or what?
I potentially, yeah.
Interesting.
So it's funny because I saw people being like, you know, through my sources, I've heard that the game's coming in November of 2027. It's like, oh, so you read the same document that says November 2027? Okay. You know what I mean? Like people trying to pretend they got like insider sources or whatever when it's right there. Which is funny because when Blade was originally announced, I know there's the whole drama about why no Xbox logo or what have you. Do you remember that? The good old days about that stuff about like why does it have an Xbox logo and when was it going to come? And I think Jeff Grubb had put it out there early on that it was targeting like 2027. And well, at least according to those financial documents, like that's when it looks like the game's going to release. What do you think about that? Any specific thoughts?
Sounds good to me, man.
No layoffs for Arcane Lyon, like no, just full steam ahead on Blade.
Nervous. Yeah, people were a bit nervous about Arcane Lyon because obviously Arcane Austin got culled like crazy. So it's like, you know, this is one of them upcoming projects. And also, there's a lot of risk with Blade because Marvel franchises are not cheap. You know, it's not cheap to access that stuff. But they're probably encouraged by Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones, by all accounts, did pretty well and Disney was happy with it. Especially in a universe where Indiana Jones is not as relevant as it perhaps once was. So Microsoft's kind of doing Disney's work for them in a way. And obviously, Disney wants I think Disney wants Blade to be a thing again. Isn't there a Blade movie coming or something like that?
Well, the Blade movie is supposed to
Or
be
was it
coming, but
cancelled?
it constantly gets delayed and stuff. So who knows if there's ever going to be a
Delayed and
Blade movie?
cancelled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's a win-win for Disney, right? They don't have to do fuck all, and they get a bunch of money out of it, all that kind of shit, right? But um, yeah, I don't know. Blade, hopefully it'll be good. I
Arcane
miss
Lyon.
Arcane.
I got faith in Arcane Lyon.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
miss Prey. I miss Dishonored. I miss all that shit, man.
yeah, yeah. Like, you know, Dishonored, Deathloop, Prey, and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to Blade. I like Arcane Lyon quite a bit. So,
Mm.
you know, you already kind of know one big hitter that they have for November of 2027, or at least fall of 2027, which is going to be interesting because most of Xbox's heavy hitters outside of Elder Scrolls are coming next year with Forza Horizon and Gears and Halo and Fable.
Mm.
So you sort of wonder what they're going to have in their pocket for the year after, right? And I mean, I suppose there's an outside chance Elder Scrolls 6 is 2027, but if you're probably taking a safe approach, probably not, right? That's probably a 20, because there was a game, I don't know if you remember, there was a game in the FTC leaks that Microsoft said was going to take 10 years of development, and it seemed like that was going to be Elder Scrolls, right? Where it was announced in 2018, and then it finally releases in 2028.
Yeah.
So, but I always kind of thought Perfect Dark was 2027, but now obviously Perfect Dark's not coming out. So I sort of wonder what else would be that year if you're already stacking next year's releases up. I guess you could have something like Clockwork Revolution in 2027. You know, they didn't date that game for 2026 yet, and even though maybe they might be trying to make it, maybe it just doesn't hit, so it comes early that year. Maybe State of Decay 3 is 2027 because we haven't seen hide nor hair of that game. Or maybe it's next year, I don't know, but we haven't seen or heard anything about State of Decay 3, so maybe that's that year. Maybe like the Spyro games that year or something, or obviously there'll be a Call of Duty that year. I'm just off the top of my head, maybe Double Fine's other game is that year. I'm trying to like run down in my head what other studios would be maybe have something, but I don't know. But it does seem like Xbox is going to kind of go all out next year. You say that, but then it's only a matter of time before like one of them gets delayed or something, or Grand Theft Auto moves from May to September or October and then screws up their whole plans and they end up having to delay something to like 2027 or something, right? So, but
Yeah.
it looks like at least like Blade's coming then. Stalker 2 got a PS5 port announcement, which isn't really that much of a shocker. I mean, I think people were expecting it to be 3 months because that was in the original contract. That was a 3-month exclusive.
That's a focus on fixing the game.
I think it ended up being, they said late 2025 or 2025 for the port, so almost a year essentially.
Yeah.
I never did play the game. I know you're a big fan of Stalker. I don't know. How do you feel?
I'm a huge fan. I've never played the original games.
No.
I just like the the premise and the setting and all that kind of stuff. I haven't gone back to it since I haven't gone back to it yet since they fixed a load of stuff. They just 1.5 was the most recent one, and I think it adds what does it add? It adds new looting mechanics and new resources to make new guns and all that kind of shit. Part of me is wondering, like, do I not just start over fresh completely or something at this point? But another part of me is just like, nah, because I've already started over like 3 times already. But yeah, I did look into it. I did load it up. It does feel a lot more polished than it did at launch. So, PlayStation getting the version that Xbox fans beta tested. So. Oh man, they brought the first wave of modding tools out for PC as well. People love to mod Stalker, and basically fix the game for the devs. to
Yeah.
some degree. But those devs have been working hard, man. They've put out a ton of patches, ton of updates, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Xbox is also, they announced that they're going to Tokyo Game Show, right?
yes, Tokyo Game Show for Xbox.
Their biggest show ever, apparently. I guess.
Yep,
What does that mean
that should be.
when they say that?
I
Like,
don't know.
what are we? Are we?
Maybe they've got like some cool shit to show, like partnerships with
Some Japanese studios?
Japanese studios, maybe, or from that region. I have honestly no idea.
And that's happening in
But
September, yes, because we got Gamescom coming out up next month, end of August.
yep,
And then Tokyo
and I
Game
will be
Show is like
attending.
end of September. So you're gonna be at Gamescom this year.
Yeah, I'll be at Games. I didn't go last year, but I am going this year. Going to be at Gamescom. I'll probably put up a thread on the Patreon for the free Patreon soon, and ask people, what games do you want me to try and check out, stuff like that. But yeah, Gamescom. Hopefully, it'll be cool stuff. They usually don't announce things at Gamescom. Usually, what it's like, they show off new trailers of things that already exist. So maybe we get some new gameplay for the Outer Worlds. So maybe we get some new gameplay for Ninja Gaiden. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Ninja
Call of
Gaiden,
Duty.
October. Well, yeah. I guess we'll see what happens with Tokyo Game Show. I mean, some years there was a year where it was really good, and then there was another year where it was kind of like, what are we doing here? So I sort of wonder what this year's is going to be like. I don't stay up for those sort of things. I know some people do, and then they end up being disappointed or happy, but I'll just wait for the next day news to hit and stuff. But Game Pass. Lot of talk about Game Pass this week. In the wake of Microsoft layoffs and cancelizations and people talking about, can we believe anything Xbox ever says ever again? That was a big discussion piece about, can we trust them? And it's like, well, I mean, the corporation, you shouldn't really trust any corporation or blindly trust any corporation, right? They only care about you and they only care about you because they can make money from you. But that became more of a theme, and because of how game cancelizations and it was basically a bloodbath, right? Not the bloodbath like with the layoffs, but then the way Xbox was talked about and online, it really seemed like there was a fervor for Xbox to just die and go away, which is, I think, what a lot of people, a lot of creators, a lot of media folks kind of want to happen or been angling to happen for a long time. Like, I think they're just waiting for that moment when Xbox, they think in their minds, Xbox pulls a Sega and is like, we're out, we're done. And then they can finally kind of say all the things they've wanted to say about the brand. You know what I mean? Like, there's
yeah, maybe.
There's a lot of pent up frustration, or maybe not frustration is the right word, but dislike.
I think frustration is the right word. Microsoft earned a lot of it.
Sure, I'm not saying
earned
it's
a lot
not
of it.
earned. I mean, the layoff situation and stuff, and the cancellation of games. It's like Microsoft's big problem has been games in general, and it's like you cancel these games in the same year, also having like your best game year of all time, right? But some people suggest like, oh well, they're not as big as PlayStation games, or even though they're releasing 12 games this year, it's about quality, not quantity, or whatever, where they move the goalposts from. The goalpost was that they ain't going to release more than 8 games, and then they release 12, and it's like, well, none of them are going to be Game of the Year contenders. And it's like, well, you don't know that yet, but it's always some poll, some sort of counter argument to always make. But this week, the focus was on Game Pass because there was the Arkane founder who really came out hard against Game Pass, like really hard.
Yeah. He founded Wolfeye Studios that made
Weird West.
Weird West.
I mean, he basically came out and says, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, being Game Pass, and he talked about the idea of like he thinks it's going to kill the industry and all this sort of stuff. And I know the guy from the Baldur's Gate team,
Larian.
yeah, Larian, he kind of came out and said the same thing, and there was like a whole back and forth about, at least in their opinions, which isn't a surprise. Like, I know people are gonna have varying opinions about Game Pass in general, and it's sometimes you look at it and it's like, okay, where are they coming from to have that opinion? And it's like, okay, maybe Weird West didn't do as well as they thought, and maybe they, it hurt, because a lot of it was based around, oh, remember when they told us this, that it doesn't hurt game sales? Yeah, fuck off, right? But now they admitted that it does, and that it cannibalizes some of the stuff, but in the beginning they were like, no, it actually helps out, but I don't think they said it would helps out in every game. It was like there are some games that it does help the virality of,
Yeah, they were talking about Sea of Thieves very, very specifically when they said some of
yeah,
that
but
stuff.
people will be like, no, they said this stuff. So then, there are some devs out there that have nice things to say about it. I know the people behind like Rebellion has talked really positively about Xbox and Game Pass. There's some other, smaller developers, and Pal World dev was very positive about it and stuff. So I guess it really depends on who you ask, and what mood you get him in. I mean, clearly he had a bad experience with it, and he thinks it's gonna destroy the industry. And it's like, I just destroy the industry. In what way? Like, people always talk about Xbox being the third place console, and like, is really a service that's only on the third place console how is that gonna destroy the whole games industry? Even if like, okay, you even factor in like, well, it turned the Xbox user base into people who wait for Game Pass games and they don't buy games or whatever. Even if you want to believe that, it's like, okay, well, that's still, people like to make fun of how many users are on Xbox in general. So it's like, how would that destroy the industry? And it's like, well, they're gonna buy all these studios. Like, Xbox ain't buying any more studios. Like, they're pretty much done. They're capped. They ain't buying any more publishers. They're not buying any more studios. So what other studios are left to buy? And it's not like Xbox is the only one shutting down studios or whatever. It's just, I get that, everybody's always speaking from their own personal viewpoint and their own experience. So it's like, he clearly had a bad experience with this, so he feels this certain way. But, Hyperbole...
Was Weird West on Game Pass?
Yeah, it was. It was, yeah, I'm pretty positive Weird West was on Game Pass. Let me just double check, though, real quickly. Weird West Game Pass. Let's see. Yeah, it was on there at one point. So, he might have direct knowledge of certain things about Game Pass, and maybe the deal structures or whatever. And because he even mentioned the type of games people make, probably insinuating that developers would make more games to focus on playtime or engagement than they would strictly just out of the love of making the game, because they want to get it back from Microsoft. And I believe I saw an article from Windows Central that you guys put out, that there was like a LinkedIn post that mentioned like the type of deals that were out there in between, like stuff like $50,000 and $50 million for Game Pass deals.
Yeah. There's someone who's laid off, one of the Game Pass managers. He was updating his CV, I presume, and he was like, I oversaw deals that range from $50,000 to $50 million for Game Pass. Over 50 million, actually, he said.
Right.
So you have to presume that's like your Fortnites, your Grand Theft Autos, stuff like that, right?
The bigger games, potentially. Maybe even stuff like Outriders, right? Like those bigger games. But it's like as low as 50K. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But even with the advent of Game Pass, there's always been this debate about whether or not it was good for the industry, or whether or not it's actually awful, and it makes, what's the word people use? It devalues games.
The Larian chap's argument was that like it turns games into sort of passive content that you just sort of like, you don't get more invested in. But it's like Matt Piscatella Sakana said, because he came out this week and said
Yeah.
um, total spend in subscription services was up uh, all-time high. So
Yes.
that's like, EA Play, Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, right? Didn't give a per subscription breakdown. So that could have been like, PlayStation Plus had a really good
And it
month
was
or
it was
something.
it
But
was the third consecutive month of growth. So that would be March, April, May, which also I
yeah,
think
right.
happens to coincide with, you could argue, maybe Xbox Game Pass's best quarter, because you're talking about Blueprints, which was a Game of the Year nominee. You're talking about Microsoft's own
Yeah,
projects like Oblivion, like Doom Dark Ages, which placed in the chart at number 2, even though it was on Game Pass.
yeah.
South of Midnight came out in that time frame. Expedition 33, which, I mean, you can probably make the argument that Expedition 33 did more for Game Pass numbers than some of Microsoft's own games themselves.
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely.
You could
I think
probably
it's
make that
Microsoft
argument.
had a fantastic Microsoft had a fantastic spring with Game Pass. So I think it stands to reason that it probably was Game Pass that was driving those numbers. But um, Microsoft obviously has never felt the need to come out and give us an update on how many people are in the
Nope.
service. Obviously, Xbox hardware sales down month over month over month over month for like a million quarters, which suggests that the number one place where you get Game Pass, isn't growing as a platform, but increasing amounts of people are playing it, using it for cloud only. And one thing I do know for a fact is that there is a Game Pass tier coming, which is cloud only.
Mm.
Um,
We've talked about that
that
before. It was like, if you want cloud gaming to be a thing, there has to be a cloud only tier at some point.
yeah, and it is coming. It's definitely coming. Don't know when, but it's definitely coming.
Yeah.
But in any case, you've got like I think people are always going to have their own perspectives on Game Pass, especially in this industry. They have a completely different perspective. I would argue that, like what Matt Piscatella said, he said that like people blame Game Pass, but you've got to look at games like Fortnite and Roblox for quote unquote devaluing the traditional game. Like there is a huge amount of people who just play Fortnite. I think it's something like 40% of all playtime hours is now spent on 10 games only. And it's games like Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox. Um, and an increasing amount of those people on top of that don't actually spend any money,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, and it's like back in the day when, because we all lobbied Microsoft to remove the paywall for free to play games
Yes.
because that's what PlayStation did.
And
But
Nintendo.
now you've
Yeah.
a Nintendo, but you've kind of created this entire market of people that just don't monetize on console, which is a very, very bad situation when your margins on console are non-existent, right? So, uh, yeah, which is why I said ads are coming for those kind of games, right? But yeah, I personally think I would look to Fortnite and Roblox um as more of a catalyst for devaluing games than Game Pass. For me, Game Pass is the only thing, you know, potentially saving variety on traditional consoles. You know, not everything can be a Baldur's Gate. Not everything can be an Expedition 33. When it comes to some of these smaller games, newer games, new studios, I think the idea of having a content fund available that can help a new studio offset their risks, I think that's a beautiful thing. I also don't want Game Pass to be the only way of acquiring games. I think that'd obviously be very bad. Um, but there's no evidence Microsoft even wants that to happen. They still offer games at retail.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had a Game Pass exclusive game, a game that's fully exclusive to Game Pass. It's always a sort of additive kind of thing. And as a consumer, I obviously love it. As someone who grew up poor, couldn't afford games, I obviously love it. You know, I love it for introducing games to family members who maybe are already a little bit more passive because they have grown up in that universe of like, I ain't spending $80 on a game, $70 on a game. No way I would do that. You know, when everything else is free, there's no way I'm paying for this. But I might pay $15 a month, might pay $20 a month. You know,
No,
I
man,
think the
I
debate
know.
debate around Game Pass will continue
Oh,
in
it'll never
perpetuity.
end. It'll never end. But
No, it won't.
that wasn't even the big news. So like you have some of the people in the industry talking about it, and they were very negative about it, probably based on their own experiences within the service. But there have been devs that have
Mhm.
been glowing with praise about it. So it's
Yeah,
always
I
kind of like,
interviewed Elcat, and they were praising
yeah,
Game Pass as well.
they put it out there. So it's like you always gotta like look at that, right? About like their situations, and it's like it's kind of like I saw this report about, it was like one Halo dev that got laid off, where he was like, "Oh, everything's trash. The Halo game is probably never gonna release, or if it does, it's probably gonna be shit or whatever." And it was just like clearly not happy that he got let go, and who would be? And then I
Hmm.
saw like Tom Henderson, who basically said, "Be careful about how much you attribute to this person. Not saying that it's not true, but you can't
Yeah,
run
one of
stories
that
based
was a
off
Windows
of,
Central article, I think.
yeah, you can't like run stories based off of just like one ex employee that may have an axe to grind, because he was like, because if that was the case or the standard, oh boy, the stories I could tell, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you always got to think, okay, what's going on here? So there have been plenty of people that don't like Game Pass, and plenty of devs that basically say it's great. So there's a divide, but it really seems, because Game Pass is kind of different from PlayStation Plus, and I think maybe that's the fear. I think that it was the fear at one point that if it became the dominant form of how people interact with gaming,
It'd give
that,
Microsoft a lot of power if that was the case.
yeah, but I don't know. I never felt that that was ever going to happen, and it didn't. And clearly it's not going to, because PlayStation has very much repeatedly said, we don't like that. We don't like to put our own first party games in there. We eventually do. It's like the life cycle thing. We want to sell the games first. But there was some fear, especially with the whole ABK acquisition, that Microsoft was going to put COD in there, put all these other things in there, and it was just going to dominate the industry and force other companies to adopt to that, because that was how consumers are going to be. Like, that's how, consumers think that this is the way this all should be, so everybody should do it. But I mean, clearly it hasn't happened, and I doubt it's ever going to happen. And we've seen a lot of big AAA developers don't want to have anything to do with Game Pass on day one. They might bring their titles to the services 2 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years later, but they're not interested in basically doing it day one. It's just Microsoft's own games, and
The Ascent just went back into Game
the
Pass.
Ascent
I
just
know it.
went back in there. And you do get the occasional like kind of high profile AA game, whether it's like Lies of P, or whether it's Expedition 33 or stuff like that. But you don't really see, because there was at one point we thought we were getting there. It was like 2021. It was like MLB The Show, day one Game Pass. It was Outriders from Square Enix, big AAA game, day one on Game Pass. It was the zombie game from Warner Brothers. I forget. Do you remember the name of the zombie game? From the Turtle Rock Studios. It was like
Oh,
Bound for Blood.
World
Was it?
War
Was it Bound for
Z?
Blood?
Oh yeah, what happened to that game?
I don't know, but I'm just.
Disappeared.
It really seemed like Game Pass was on the verge of kind of getting those games, and then it didn't, and nothing else really came. That was the year. It really seemed like it was about to kind of, the tide was coming, and was going to crest onto the shore and swallow everything up, and then it didn't. And I don't really think
It's
there's
quite poetic.
I just don't really think there's that fear anymore, that PlayStation is going to follow suit. PlayStation is more followed suit with putting games on PC and flirting with day one than they ever really have coming to putting their own games day one on the service. I mean, they've put like, they haven't like put it like, I know they have put like early in the gen, like they put God, there was that car game Destruction All-Stars, like they put it as like the game that month as part of like PlayStation Plus or whatever, because like nobody was pre-ordering that game and nobody wanted it, so they just included it in it, and guess what, like the game failed anyways. But like we haven't really seen them do any of that stuff, and I don't really think they're ever going to. I think they're going to stay like pretty like stringent on that point. We're not doing this. And it doesn't really seem like Game Pass is going to take over the industry like everybody fears. So some of that's been kind of...
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, which, that's perfectly fine. But there has been... And I think some of this is just based off of like the Xbox versus PlayStation war, where Xbox guys are constantly praising Game Pass because it helps save them money, and there's some great games that come to the service, and it helps them play more games, but also helps them save more money. And PlayStation guys are very much, well, it's always like what one has and the other doesn't, so it's always a fight in between. So like PlayStation guys are like, Game Pass sucks, welfare pass, lame pass, or all those sort of things you can make up to make fun of it. But if the shoe was on the other foot, like if PlayStation's games were day one and Xbox wasn't doing day one, and it was like if Xbox had the PlayStation style of their PlayStation Premium, it would be the other way around. The PlayStation guys would love that. They'd be talking it up, and then Xbox guys would be the ones saying the insults, because it's entirely based around that. And I will die on that fucking hill. I will die on that hill that it's really based around that scenario. At least for a lot of people, a lot of the discussion online, it's because with a lot of the talking points of the console war, quote unquote, it's always you attack, you talk positively about the strengths that you have, and you downplay the weaknesses. And then for the other people, it's like you downplay their strengths and you talk highly about their weakness. So like, hey, PlayStation Premium sucks, and Xbox Game Pass sucks. But if it was flipped, the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be making the different argument. Oh, if PlayStation Premium day one games and Xbox didn't, those guys, PlayStation guys, would be talking about how good it was. We get Ghost of Yotai day one and Death Stranding 2 day one. Look at these things, and Xbox guys are being like trash. Like I will die on that hill. But
don't die on the hill.
No, I will absolutely die on that hill. I know for a fact that would happen.
It's coming to PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I did see that's coming to
Pretty
PlayStation Plus. And, they just announced Cyberpunk Edgerunners Season 2. Huge hit. Helped drive a lot of people back to the game. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that they're doing a sequel to that, but I'm looking forward to it because Cyberpunk Edgerunners was outstanding. But getting back into the whole Game Pass thing, it really blew up to epic proportions this week because Christopher Dring said something, basically that it was like in a reply thread, and it really didn't blow up until the next day after he said it, because it was in like a thread, so it wasn't like a quote retweet, and it wasn't like his own tweet. It was kind of buried, where he said something along the lines of, I asked Xbox PR, and they told me that first party development costs aren't included in Game Pass profitability. And then suddenly this just became the story. The story. And every single website and every single, fanboy out there that has been fighting this fight for years, suddenly now is being like, all right, like, finally the truth is here. Like, how could Xbox do this? They've been lying to us the whole time. Or not, because they assume that those costs were in there. But literally every single website trying to get those clicks, be like, told you so, Game Pass, isn't profitable, not making any money, it's a money sink, and all these sort of things, right? Like, people becoming these these journalists are suddenly now like accountants and not understanding. Like it was just a fervor of just angry people just finally waiting to unleash upon something. And now that they had something from Christopher Dring, and it was backed up with by the whole Xbox PR told me this, even though a lot of these people were like, you can't believe a word Xbox says anymore. Am I right, guys? Am I right after what they just pulled on us? But like, we'll believe. It's kind of like the people with you when you post something about rumors.
Oh, dude.
When people will be like, I only believe Jazz when it's bad Xbox news. But if it's good Xbox news, they don't
someone on
believe
Reset
you.
Era
Right?
literally said that.
Yeah.
Literally, that was his words. If it's bad news, I'll believe it. If it's good news, I won't. And it's like, he said that like it was a normal way to think.
Right. If it's bad news, but so even though a lot of these same people were like, are we believing Xbox? No. So if they say something like that, it's like we're believing them because it fits our agenda. So Christopher Dring says all that, right? And it steamrolls. Everybody's just making content about it. Xbox dying, Xbox lying, this, that, and the third.
Crying.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, and I think you went and you dug. I mean, you did say you had something to say. You wanted to say about like the media and everybody jumping out on the story, like immediately, like about that.
The thing that intrigued me about it was that he said PR said it, and then I was like, hang on a sec, I've got a completely contradictory thing from PR here. That PR told me the opposite before. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, did Chris mishear or did I mishear? One of us has misheard it. So I just went and asked sources. I couldn't get PR directly, but if you've been in this business for long enough, there are back channels, and there's people I can always ask, sources and stuff like that. And they were just like, no, So this was like 3 a.m. when I'm doing this. Can't sleep anyway. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to get out of bed and do something about this. Get me some clicks as well, because it's always nice to get clicks when it's debunking misinformation.
Right.
And basically, yeah, I got the complete opposite information. And I also got some extra context too. So the way Microsoft allocates resources based on Game Pass, they do something called, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it's called, but it's like a user weighted calculation or something. And it's kind of like they estimate how much the game has lost sales because of Game Pass, but also how much sales the game has gained because of Game Pass, and then they issue a chargeback based on various factors to Game Pass profit and loss, right? So, if essentially Game Pass is charged for cannibalized sales, after the game launches, and that's factored in Game Pass's profitability, but also it's factored into the studio's profitability. So, in essence, with first party, they shouldn't be losing money based on Game Pass because Game Pass is charged a fee for those projected losses, And then some people were trying to like gotcha it like by saying, well, they don't do that at the start of development, but it's like, why would you do that at the start of development when these games are going to be pushed across multiple platforms that aren't Game Pass, right? And that's not how they do it with third parties either. Like with third parties, it's like at the point the game launches, that's when the money comes in because that's when the money comes in, right? So, yeah. And then after I wrote that article, Chris String came out and was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, I misheard. I don't know exactly. Tell us exactly what he said if you got it, because I can't remember exactly what he said."
But you know what? It's here's the thing. I knew a retraction was coming because look, and I don't have anything against Chris String, right? I don't know him personally. I do follow his work because it's like I like to know some of the stuff that's going on here. But time and time and time again, this has happened where he says something. And maybe he has the info, but he doesn't fully understand it or have the full information. And he says something, and like his voice is powerful because he used to work at GameIndustry.biz. And so when he says something very much like Matt Piscatella or somebody up there, articles get written about it. And I'm saying, like, people are drooling being able to report that Game Pass
He's bad.
isn't profitable because it's just another one of Phil's lies. Can't believe anything he says, right? Another one of his things that you could say that Phil said this, and the third, and it's not true. And he's been saying that Game Pass has been profitable for years. And people have been like, there's definitely a faction out there that hate Game Pass because it's not on their console. And I'll die on that hill because if it was and Sony was doing it, they'd be fucking loving it. But
yeah.
So it's like you have this everybody just rushing to put out this news, not just and they'll justify it, be like, we need to get clicks and it's not our thing and this guy's reputable, so we just need to source him. And it's like
reputable.
I'm not saying he's not. That's why he's referenced, because he's reputable, right? So I don't have anything against Chris String, but the first thing I thought of, and I think even when I messaged you, I'm like, how long until he retracts this? Because I think this is the third time, or at least the fourth time that I can recall from memory, where he says something one day and then immediately retracts it the next day. One time it was about something he said regarding, like, oh, he talked to some studios and they're not sure what Xbox is doing, so they might not even support the platform or whatever. And then the next day he puts out this whole lengthy thing about retracting that information. And
because he said that third parties were not considering supporting Xbox anymore.
Yeah. So then he had to put out this whole thing retracting it, but it didn't stop people from using that information the day before, and just like this. And I know there was another scenario where he had to retract something, and it's not coming to my mind right away, which I know is a problem because this is happening more often. So I think my mind's starting to go. But I am getting older, so
dude,
it's only a matter of time, I suppose.
I've been playing a certain upcoming Souls-like recently, to write content, and I was just like getting my ass handed to me sometimes, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, hang on a sec, am I just dumb now? I've also like been trying to play Overwatch and just getting absolutely my ass handed to me as well, and I think Rand, I think we're getting old, man.
It's like some stuff used to just come so easily to me to remember, and now when I try to think about some things, and it's like right there in the tip of my tongue. It's like right there, and it's like I don't remember.
And how long have we been doing this now?
We've been doing it 8 years.
8 years we've been doing this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time, man.
It is. It is a very long time.
We've gotten older.
No, sure. I mean, I'm gonna turn 44 this year, but I'm just saying,
Jesus,
I've noticed recently more that
44.
Yeah, I'm 43 right now.
I remember you turning 40 like it was yesterday.
I mean, that was gonna be 4 years ago, basically.
God.
But I just started to notice that sometimes when I would try to recall information, not all the time, but the things that I should remember, it's like right there, and it's like, oh, I can just almost have it.
Yeah.
And then it's like and it's like, oh man, if this was 5 years ago, I would remember this. So it's like, I think this is a sign that I'm slowly losing my mental faculties. Or maybe I'm just stuffing my head full of just books, and it's like moving out other useless information, right? Because I read like almost 8 or 9 books a month, so maybe it's like all this info that's coming in, it pushes out all this other info. Because I know there's like 3 things that Dring retracted on, but I can't recall one of them. But so Dring then of course retracted his thing about Game Pass, and this is what he had to say. He says, okay, I need to clarify something. First, Xbox Game Pass is profitable, even when you factor in the lost sales for his first-party teams, sources who would have told me. Over 18 months ago, I checked with Xbox about what's included in the Game Pass P&L. Basically, I was looking to see if Game Pass costs factor in the impact to unit sales of their internal studios. I was told that first-party games have their own P&L separate to Game Pass, as they make money via other means. I felt this piece of internal accountancy might mean Game Pass is profitable, But it sure does put pressure on the margins for its internal games and possibly means some studios don't make as much profit or any profit at all. That doesn't actually matter in real terms, but seeing the impact Game Pass is having on first-party games and the amount of money Xbox is spending on studios, I wanted to check if the full impact of the service is being considered in their Game Pass's profitable line. This was before Xbox started publishing fully on PS5. Studios can now make stronger margins on premium sales as a result of that now. But regardless to all that, sources have reached out to tell me that even when you include lost revenue associated with first-party games, not just unit sales but microtransactions, Game Pass is still profitable, so that's great. Right, Tony Hawk is out, so let's get back to that. So, basically a full retraction.
Did you play Tony Hawk?
No, I don't have any interest in Tony Hawk whatsoever. Oh. So, yeah, so it's funny because everybody was rushing to post this news. Everybody was using Grok to, make their tweets and prove that these guys are, they know what they're talking about. And I'll be the first one to say I don't know shit about corporate accounting. But even when I was like, okay, let me look for people that... And it's funny because when I was looking for people that knew corporate accounting, they would be like, yeah, of course they wouldn't include the costs of... Because that's basically double costing. Because the studios themselves you fund through, the balance sheet. You wouldn't then put the cost of the game, which is basically the cost of running the studio, on Game Pass because... the game's not exclusive to Game Pass. It has all these other margins, so that because if you're including the cost of making Call of Duty in the Game Pass, but then Call of Duty makes money on PC, it makes money on PS5, it makes money on microtrans. So you can, it's like you're not putting that all through there. You're not double costing the stuff. So the people that seemed like they knew what they're talking about in regard to accounting were like, yeah, this wouldn't be there at all, and I don't know why anybody would think it would. And I even saw like Z Huge being like, yeah, this was the assumption when Phil said it back then, that they weren't including those costs. But then there were like journalists who were like, what do you mean? He was lying then? Oh my god, this is an outrage. Being like, dude, you're a fucking journalist, you're not an accountant, so sit down and shut the fuck up. Seriously. Like, you don't know anything about accounting, and you don't know anything about any of this stuff. So what? Like, wait for the information to come out, right? Don't assume anything about all this stuff. And then, of course, when everything was factored in, and Chris String retweeted, he made the thing, and now it's like, oh yeah, like all the smart people were saying this because they're accountants. But this one journalist over at this website couldn't wait, writing that article about Game Pass and Xbox lying with probably the biggest smile and boner he's ever had in a long time. You know what I mean?
Oh god.
But yeah, I mean that's just it's what it is. Like, and the story hit, and they went through. It did all the damage it could do, and then when the retraction came, it wasn't as big because 24-hour news cycle. And I saw a lot of websites not do updates, and it's like, well, then you're not a real journalistic website, because if a real journalist, who sourced that original thing as an article, and if that source then came back and then retracted that statement, an actual journalist would then have to update that article or put out a new one. And if you didn't, you're not a journalist, and you probably shouldn't be listened to in that respect. You're just out there for clicks and all that other stuff. But it was definitely very interesting 48 hours surrounding that, because that was like the talk of the town again, coming off the back of, Microsoft's layoffs and stuff and all those sort of things. And I even think Paris brought up a good point on his, his streams. He was just like, if Game Pass wasn't profitable by now, Microsoft would probably have cut it.
Yeah, there's no way they would keep doing it.
So it's like, considering all the cost cutting they're doing.
It's an additive thing, and it works for now. Maybe there's a point where it doesn't work, but at least for now it works.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I don't think Microsoft is where they want to be with Game Pass. I think they thought they would be way further along, approaching the 50 million, 60 million subscriber mark by now. But a lot of that had to do with their mobile play, which is non-existent, really. And who knows if it'll ever really be a thing. But yeah, I sort of agree with Paris that if Game Pass at this point, if you were just saying, hey, money in, money out, and if it was like there's more money out than there's money in, they'd probably get rid of it.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, we're not. This isn't. We've been doing this now for 8-9 years, and all this. We're doing all these things, and it's not working. We're getting rid of it. Now I don't know how that would affect the Xbox user base, because there's a lot of people very conditioned to only play games on Game Pass because there's so much there. And if you were to pull that from people, I'm not sure how a lot of those people would react.
I think there's definitely some downsides to Game Pass and the way it's changed some user behavior maybe in some regards. But I think, like you, they would have cut it if the positives didn't outweigh the even potential negatives, if we're going to call them negatives. It's just different, and the fact that it's something that the market leader isn't doing is what creates the scrutiny to some degree. But I also think, like, obviously there's a lot of devs or publishers who don't like it for whatever reason. There's also retailers who don't like it, probably. So, like, when you talk to, like, if you're talking to someone from, like, a Walmart, they don't like Game Pass because it means, like, there's less retail money to go around. It competes directly with them. It's a disruptor. That's the whole point of it, is to be disruptive, because Microsoft is the third place in the platform wars. They're third place. So,
well, I guess it determines.
How do you fix your position? Is to be a disruptor.
I guess it depends on the metrics you use to determine third place, right? I mean, console sales, absolutely. Revenue, definitely not third place.
Oh no, of course not.
But it's.
I just mean, like, in terms of platform, in terms of the amount of users in your platform, I think, when you disregard.
I mean, I don't know. They talk
the
about
third-party
they talk about
aspects about
having.
it.
I mean, they talked about having like 500 million of people in, monthly active
Yeah.
users for stuff. But
You know-
I mean,
you know-
obviously it
you know.
includes Candy Crush and whatnot and things like that, right?
When Game Pass was conceived, none of that was a factor.
Sure. So, yeah, there's always something happening every single week. It's just funny to see Christopher Drink say that, and I was like, oh, he's going to retract tomorrow. Sure enough, he retracted. But that didn't stop everybody from talking about it, and talking about it like they were accountants when they flip burgers in real life. Or, hey, what they say, just bag my fries or whatever, right? Everybody acting like they know something, and they're like super smart. And I'm just like, okay, well, wait for the other shoe to drop. And the other shoe to drop, and it's just like, all right, well, are we seen any of those same people talking about this stuff anymore? But now it's, you still believe Xbox? So you believe Xbox when they told Dring that what they said, but then when Dring said the other stuff, now it's like, oh, so now you believe it. So it's like, what? So it's, once again, you're only believing certain things based on your confirmation bias. It's like, if it's bad, we believe Xbox. If it's good, you believe them? Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is what it is. Game Pass, good though. As a consumer, I love that shit.
Yeah, we got a super chat here from Big Afroman. It says, awesome Xbox 2+1, gents. Such high-level conversation. And also, Rand, what do you think of the Project Hail Mary trailer? In my opinion, it was good, but showed too much. Yeah, I agree it showed too much. There's too much spoilers at the end. I did see they put out a statement today about the movie's trailer, Jez. Basically saying that...
I don't even know what it is. What is it?
It's a trailer. It's a movie that's coming out with Ryan Gosling. It's the book I always recommend people to read, Project Hail Mary.
What's it about? Got just an overview.
It's about the sun's dying. There's
the sun?
Yes, the sun is dying, so everybody on Earth is going to die.
Rip.
And they determine that all the other stars in the galaxy are also infected, except one star. And they don't know why that one star is not infected like the sun is. So they are building a spaceship. They're sending people over there to find out why that sun or why that star isn't affected
Hail Mary.
like the sun, and stuff happens. And Ryan Gosling is, playing the character that goes over there. So that's essentially the plot of the movie.
Interesting.
But they posted a thing because the trailer came out yesterday. The directors of the movie says, "Holy moly! Thank you all for a thank you all, you glorious, generous fans of the movies, books, near light speed travel, for pushing the trailer for Project Hail Mary past 400 million views, the most in 1 week for a non-sequel, non-remake original film trailer ever." So apparently the trailer did some numbers, and
I should probably check it out. I've never even heard of it until you mentioned it.
Oh yeah, and I constantly mention it, but no, I like the trailer, but I do agree it showed too much. But then again, it's like Hollywood, so you sort of expect them to do so.
The trailers are so aggressive with showing shit these days.
Yeah, they are. They are. We got Zach, who says, "Imagine if they got their wish and Xbox canceled Game Pass, the haters would flame Xbox." I mean, for sure. Absolutely. If Game Pass was canceled, whew. I mean, I could see a lot of people typing their tweets right now and using Grok to carefully orchestrate it, and then the articles that would come out from all these websites, a lot of these people have the biggest smile they probably had since their weddings. Like like, let me get on social media and it's gonna be one for the ages. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely, people would love that. Sir Gore says, "Hey, I wanted to ask Mr. Corden what he knows about Game Pass dev deals. Do some devs only get money from Microsoft when they release on Game Pass and not before?"
I think all devs only get it once the game's released.
Okay.
Because otherwise you'd end up in a situation where, devs took the money and, maybe they couldn't deliver the game for whatever reason. I think that probably leads to scenarios that Microsoft doesn't want to be in.
Oh, maybe it's different for everyone. I don't know.
No, I don't think it is. I think
you
it's
don't think
just
it is? I mean, I honestly don't know how.
the money comes in when the game launches, and then they get engagement bonuses. So if the game does crazy numbers in Game Pass, like Expedition's probably doing right now, they get extra money.
Okay.
I believe that's how it.
Yeah. So let me see if there's anything else we need to talk about. Kind of talked about everything, really. So let's move on to good old Patreon questions, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
So if you guys want to help support the show, you can always sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/XB2. Links in the description. You get access to question and answer thread, which we're about to do now, and early access to Xbox 2+1, which has a 3.5-hour interview or discussion with Colin Moriarty of Sacred Symbols and Last Media. Shout-outs and all that good stuff are there as well. As don't forget to check out our sponsor if you want to support the show in that way. We got a deal with Surfshark for 86% off 2 years, which is really cheap if you want to use a VPN to protect yourself online.
Yep.
Links in the description as well as pinned in the comments section, so if you want to check that out. But we're going to get to some of these questions. And then we'll be, it'll be a nice weekend for everybody, right? July 11th, week after July 4th. We got Pat Rock, who says, with Xbox getting the marketing for Silksong, they have new promotional material that dropped today of the ROG Xbox playing Silksong, and continuing to take the top of the charts every month, which I think we failed to mention, but Xbox's games were 2, 3, 4. It's top 5 games for the month. It was Elden Ring, Night Rain. It was Doom. It was Forza. It was Oblivion. They basically had 4 of the top 5 games of the month. And then, if you expand out a little bit further to 7, I think one of them was Minecraft. So, the Xbox games are selling pretty good, on the platforms that they're on or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just for first party, but also Game Pass and marketing games like Expedition 33. Could Xbox become the bespoke platform for every studio to market their games? No, I don't think so. Partially because Xbox is irrelevant in Europe, and
Yeah.
that is a huge market. There's no presence.
Also,
Uh,
China.
China as well. So sometimes there are going to be some companies that want to market with PlayStation because it's more of a worldwide global brand, so they'll do it there. PlayStation might have more money to spend for marketing deals, so they'll take them. I'm not saying like they get what they get left as scraps. I'm sure they have games that target certain stuff, and maybe Silksong's one of those things where the reason it has a Game Pass deal is because the game's taking so long, and it's like a 3-person studio or whatever it is, and it's like, we need more money or we need to get more of this stuff, so let's make the deal. And then that includes like a marketing thing. An Expedition 33, Kepler, the publisher, it's not their first game in Game Pass. That could have been just like a more of a deal with the publisher, because I think they had some other games coming to Game Pass. But no, I don't think it'll become the bespoke platform for every studio to market their games. I still think people will gravitate towards Nintendo and PlayStation, with Xbox picking certain things here and there to market. But good question though.
I think the one factor that could change this is cloud. I think if Microsoft can really nail the cloud and reduce that latency to NVIDIA GeForce Now levels, release a cloud-only subscription that is like reasonably priced, and then start marketing it, because they're already installed on like thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of televisions, you know, and that is creating like new users, like new to Xbox users, which is the crucial metric, which is like users that have never been on an Xbox console before and never been on PC before with Xbox. So if you want to create completely new users, I think cloud is probably the vector upon which to do that. But it needs the right execution, the right games, the right investment in technology, the backing of Satya, because it's not cheap to really expand Game Pass, cloud gaming with the technology necessary to get that latency down. But we'll see what happens with the next gen of cloud, because that's coming with next gen too.
I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't think cloud's going to change anything marketing wise for stuff.
I don't know. We'll see, man.
I mean, there's a possibility, but I doubt it will.
It's just the optimistic alternative take.
Sure. Dark Green says, "Hey guys, hope you're having a good week thus far. Jez, you've talked a lot in the past about how Microsoft is veering heavily into AI and how that can be impacting Xbox heavily. Even today, IGN seemed to have a video up discussing that idea. Now, there's an article out in Fortune about Coca-Cola's CEO mandating the company implement AI into its structure. Meanwhile, they're closing plants around the world, including one in America a couple weeks ago, leading to layoffs in that sector. Is all of this just truly the first wave across broad swaths of global economics, including but not limited to gaming, revealing how much companies are willing to invest in AI for the future, even if it comes to the expense of cutting real jobs now?"
Ah, man, that's a
Loaded
deep question.
but I think companies will do whatever it takes to cut costs everywhere. And if that means cutting people's real jobs to replace them with AI, they will absolutely do that, just like when automation came into like the workforce, and you didn't need 15 people to build one car anymore or whatever. It was just automated, and then all you really needed was a couple people and someone to run the automated stuff. They're more than happy to get rid of those costs. I mean, hell, look at, you go to the store, and you know, when I was a kid, you would have 10 lines of checkouts, right? And each one was manned by a person.
Oh yeah.
And then eventually, at some point, you know, when I was kind of getting teenager-ish, and I forget exactly when, but it was maybe in my early 20s, there was like a self-checkout line. And I always thought to myself, I'm like, self-checkout? fuck this. Like, I'm not doing the work. Like I'm coming here to get my stuff, and I'm going to one of these people. Maybe not in my head thinking like, oh, I want them to keep their jobs, but like, it's like I'm not packing my own shit. But if you go to a lot of these places now, it's like the whole thing is self checkout with maybe one or two lines of actual, employees of doing the checkout stuff.
Yeah.
So like, companies don't care about people. Corporations don't care about Jez. They don't care about me. They don't care about any single person in this chat. The only people they care about is shareholders, and shareholders only care about return on investment and money. So if they can take any chance of getting rid of people whose roles are redundant by AI, they absolutely 100% will. And they'll come up with some flowery reason in their, letters talking about layoffs or what have you. So yeah, this is probably just the first wave. But when AI gets better or what have you, the potential is there to be a complete fucking bloodbath.
Yeah.
With that stuff, where if AI can do your job, it's probably going to do it, and those companies are just going to be like, we don't need you anymore. We have this thing, and we don't have to pay this thing anything. So goodbye and good luck.
Yeah.
Any? Am I wrong on that, Jez? Or
No, I think you're completely right. I mean, there's not much. It's sad, but there's not much more to say. Is that it's like with AI, it's all about saving money potentially, and I think like the fact that a lot of the layoffs were middle management, I think they're thinking like we can have AI do this shit. We can have AI manage these aspects of the business, and I think they're gonna end up finding out that's probably not right. And they'll probably regret some of these decisions and end up rehiring for them later. That's the whole point of American hire and fire, right? You fire people who are expensive and then rehire the same positions but cheaper, you know? But the disruption that AI is going to wrought over everything is, I don't think it's understated at all. I think like there is a lot of hype, especially around creating super AI, what they call artificial general intelligence, which is like in super intelligence, which can like do everything and self-replicate and all this kind of stuff. But I do think like a lot of any jobs that can be automated, they will automate it. They'll automate that shit to hell. I think what is particularly annoying about AI is that all the AI systems have been trained on stolen content, copyrighted content. And there's literally there's no way for copyright holders really, unless you're Disney, to actually just be like, hang on a sec, you can't steal our shit. That's not okay. But if you're like a Jez or a Rand and you're having your shit stolen, there's like nothing you can do about it. You just have to just accept that these big corporations have stole your stuff and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Right. Let's see here. We got a question from Rave Damos. Buying non-anywhere Xbox games feels like a dead end to me, and here's why. Xbox is clearly heading toward a hybrid future, and Microsoft heavily emphasized play anywhere titles in their recent showcase. I have zero doubt that the next traditional Xbox console will support full back compat, just like the Series X does today, but there's also a new kind of Xbox hardware on the horizon. OEM-built Xbox PCs that might not support legacy console titles in the same way. Think an Xbox Asus ROG Ally X running in Xbox mode. That possibility alone already pushes me toward only buying Play Anywhere games. But added in the likelihood that these Xbox PCs may also support Steam, and suddenly Play Anywhere titles and Steam keys feel like the only future-proof options. It feels like Microsoft is nudging me towards PC, and if I take that path and I buy an Xbox PC, I may risk losing some of my back catalog, whether due to licensing or hardware and limitations. Native console-only Xbox games? At this point, they're starting to feel like the riskiest purchases in the ecosystem. Am I overthinking it?
I mean, I think Microsoft's been pretty upfront about what their plans are, mostly. I think like there are still some sort of what's actually gonna happen here with all this shit, right? And I think the anxiety is warranted to some degree, but Microsoft's also been like one of the strongest proponents of backwards compatibility, and they've also like pretty much been like, yeah, our next system is we're making this in partnership with AMD specifically to make sure that these systems remain compatible with our existing user base and all that kind of shit, right? So it's up to you at the end of the day. Like, if you think they're not doing enough to protect your purchases, then I think it's completely fair and valid to be like, Steam's a safer bet here for the long haul. But I personally am not worried. I'm way more invested in Xbox than most people, probably. I got over 1,000 games on Xbox. So I'm like someone who definitely doesn't want to see my shit get lost. But I'm not worried at all. So that's my perspective. Maybe I'm naive.
I mean, I think this is partially why they came out with the AMD announcement in the first place, because I think people were starting to be like, oh man, like, how's this all going to work, and will my stuff move forward? So they said what they said. Like, yeah, maybe the Xbox Ally kind of muddies the water a bit, because it's like, here's this device that they call as an Xbox, right? As part of their whole "this is an Xbox" ad campaign.
Mm.
But it doesn't play all your Xbox games. It only plays a segment of them that are Play Anywhere titles. So maybe they felt like this is something that we need to reassure people, because maybe there's other people like Rave Damos who are like, you know what? If it's not Play Anywhere, then it's a risky purchase, because that means it might be only tied to the console, and it won't move forward with me. Like, for me personally, when I buy a game, it's because I'm going to play it. And because I normally don't replay games, like I own a lot of 360 games and even own some OG Xbox games, I don't go back. I own a lot of Xbox One games either, but I played them, and I played the 360 games. So while there is some comfort to know that the purchases I made come forward with me, it's not that big of a detriment. It's not that big of a detriment to me if, like, I get into the next console or a console beyond that, and some of those purchases aren't there, because I would have already played those games, because I bought them because I wanted to play them, and I'm not looking to play them again. And I know maybe I'm different. I know a lot of people always replay their catalog, and they get into that stuff, and they might hear this and they might think like, well, that's definitely a take, Rand. That's kind of, what about ownership and stuff like that? And I'm like, everybody buys things for different reasons. Like, I buy a game because I want to access it, not necessarily because I definitely want to own it. It's like, I want to play this game now, so I'm going to purchase it now. And once I play it now, I'm not going to replay it later. And like I said, there is a comfort to know that if I wanted to, in the future, I could replay BioShock. But then, knowing myself and my habits and what I actually do, in the back of my mind, I know I'm not going to. So It doesn't matter to me as much as it would matter to other people. So that's where people need to come up with their own how they personally feel about it and where they feel most secure spending their money. Because at the end of the day, Rave, it's your money. And, if you feel like they're pushing you towards PC and you'd rather buy only Xbox Play Anywhere games and not native console games, I'd be like, all right, like, I get it. So you need to do what's best for you and your future. If you're someone who's like buys a few games but are always playing them, and if that's important to you, because what's important to you may not be important to somebody else. So, but do I think you're overthinking it? No, I don't think really. I do think maybe there is some truth of like Xbox trying to push people to PC. I do think that the next console will have full back compat. I mean, they pretty much stated as such, and if they went back on that, well, Nobody will be Xbox or Microsoft about anything anymore if that was the case, because they made that a big part of their announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know if Xbox Play Anywhere ever will ever be like a thing where everybody opts into, because it is an opt-in thing right now. And I'm not sure if it ever will be a thing where that's just a standard Xbox licensing agreement where if you're publishing with us, then you automatically give us like a, a Play Anywhere version. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I could be wrong, and it would be great if I was, because that is an ultimate pro consumer move. Be able to buy the game once and be able to play it in multiple places. I guess we'll just have to see what the future has in store in that spot, huh?
Sure will.
We got Silas, who says, "Hey guys, first I want to say your chat with Colin and the first one are the best Xbox 2+ ones you have made to date." Well, thank you. It's nice to have someone come in from outside your usual pool. Jez, could you describe a week in the life of Windows Central's Grand Poobah Jez Corden? What meetings do you have? How do you coordinate staff meetings across different time zones? Do you carve out time for girlfriends and personal gaming time? Yes, Jez. Tell us about your daily rituals and what it's like to live a life of Jez Corden.
Well, I'll say this, right? My colleague Rebecca Spear, she handles a lot of the actual organizational stuff. So I was managing editor for a while, which meant I did a lot of managing, but I hate managing. I hate it with a passion. So that was it was a transitional thing, because we had a situation where a rival website poached a bunch of our staff 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, I think. So when that poaching event happened, I stepped into a managerial role because one of the people who left was a manager. And I still do some managerial duties. I still do some budgeting. I still do payroll, making sure people get paid on time. That was one of the things with the old manager. Like, freelancers weren't getting paid on time, which is a huge issue. But I'm proud to say that since I took over payroll, nobody's missed a payment. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't do a lot of that stuff. What I do day to day these days is literally just reporting as executive editor. I've started doing some sales things, like working with ad partners to try and, keep Windows Central profitable, which is hard in today's climate. Of course it is. But Windows Central we're a small division of a much bigger organization, Future PLC, and obviously Future has way bigger websites than Windows Central, like PC Gamer, Tech Radar, stuff like that. So a lot of the time it's just trying to fight against the wind, or the tide rather. It can be quite hard to get noticed in such a big company like this when you're, a smaller part of it. But, with the support of all you guys, we punch above our weight. We punch well above our weight. So appreciate you guys.
Well, that's good. Good old Conwood says, "Hello, Rand and Jez. I always wait until the show starts so I can check out the questions being asked. I make sure I'm asking questions that other people haven't already asked. What I am seeing, though, are people less asking questions and asking if you agree with their viewpoint. So my question is, have you noticed this, and why do you agree with me?"
Oh, man. I mean, people can ask whatever they want at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, sometimes they just maybe some people just want. It's not so much agreeing with their viewpoint, but like Rave Damos's question was, he feels a certain way, and he's like, "Am I right for feeling this way?" Right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, some of it's like, offer an alternative opinion on some of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes like on the podcast, like Randall offer a take on something, and I'll like purposefully, and I don't know if this is being British and raised on the BBC. The BBC has got like this weird mandate where it's like they have to present both sides of an argument. That's like and it's almost like a journalistic habit for me to like consider the other viewpoints or play devil's advocate in my mind. You know, could this other alternative viewpoint be the right one? You know, um, but I don't know. I like hearing what everyone has to say, and always happy to offer my own take on it.
Yeah. I mean, some people, they just want reassurances. Some people like Silas kind of ask funny questions or different from the norm. I mean, everybody has good questions, and it's just we doesn't matter what it is. But I get what you're saying. Some people, they want you to agree with their viewpoint or disagree with it and stuff. It's fine. Which we always agree with you, Mr. Collinwood. So, smiley face. We have a super chat here, or member chat. For 41 months, we got Andy Hart who says, can the FTC sue Microsoft for break of the ABK agreement, example, layoffs, closing studios? I mean, I don't think they can, because I think they stopped that whole thing, didn't they? And Microsoft could probably argue in court that the layoffs had nothing to do with ABK.
Yeah.
They could probably argue in court that these layoffs weren't because of the merger, or it was because of different reasons. I don't know if
I think it'd be folly to try and argue any of this in court, because there is like empirical hard evidence that the game industry is up against it right now. Playtime hours overall are down, even though like Microsoft's like, oh, our playtime hours are up overall. It's like the industry is down overall, and Microsoft, you'll notice, never mention profitability. So while playtime hours might be up, the fact of the matter is a lot of those playtime hours are completely free to play users who aren't spending a dime.
Yeah. But I mean, even if we were to say, okay, let's do a hypothetical scenario, even though I don't think Microsoft's ever going to do this again, but let's just imagine a scenario where, I don't know, hypothetically, Microsoft bought Take-Two. Hypothetically. I don't think this is going to happen. But let's imagine they buy somebody big enough where they have to go through regulation again, right?
Wow, I can't believe Rand just confirmed.
And would regulators be less inclined to let that go through because of the layoffs that happened at ABK and Bethesda? And would they be like, okay, we're not going to do this because of X, Y, and Z reasons, with one of the reasons being layoffs? I'm not sure. I don't remember that being like a big factor in any of the ABK stuff. Like, the big factor was like, how was this going to affect PlayStation? They might go out of business. Remember people out there? It's funny to think that there are legit people that thought if ABK was bought by Xbox that PlayStation would be literally out of business. And they pushed that narrative for a long time.
Well, I mean, Jim Ryan was like, yeah, if we lose access to
but then like behind the scenes,
Duty.
but then you get them emails behind the scenes, and he's like, yeah, I've been talking to Phil for like a week. It's all good. Call of Duty's not going anywhere. And it's like, it's not what you're saying publicly though, And so you wonder, it was like, well, if it was like something like Take-Two, so like Grand Theft Auto 6, like Sony would be like, we can't lose Grand Theft Auto 6 or Grand Theft Auto, like just like they said with COD, like our business would never recover. And it's like, your business seems to be doing pretty fine now. Granted, Microsoft didn't take... Remember there was the whole thing about they would intentionally sabotage the PlayStation version of Call of Duty? Where like you get to like the last couple levels and it just wouldn't work and shit. And it was just like, they were just throwing anything at the wall to see if it would stick. And the only thing that did stick, at least in the UK, was the streaming stuff. Which, like, well,
I hate that shit.
So
still don't have Diablo on xCloud because of Ubisoft. That is so weird to me.
I don't know. So I don't think that would be something they would focus on. Maybe it would be. I mean, I don't know what the political climate would be if they ever made something like that. Like, I don't think they were ever buy another publisher, because I just don't see them being like, yeah, let's go spend another $10 billion to buy somebody else for Xbox. Like, I think they've spent the money they wanted to spend there. And even then, they're probably like, Satya's probably like, I wish I would have spent it on AI instead. So
never say never, dude.
Yeah, well, you never know what the future's going to hold. And Riv Damos with the super chat says, do you think Xbox uses PlayStation sales data to enhance the user-weighted calculation to estimate lost or gained sales?
Yes, they do. So like in the case of Doom, for example, the comparable sales to PlayStation obviously helps them make those calculations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always like, obviously if a game's not on PlayStation, like I don't think Avowed launched on PlayStation, right?
No, it didn't.
No. So like there's obviously limits to that, but generally speaking, yeah, they will.
Okay. And
At least according to my information.
I think that's all the questions we got. So,
Nice.
I mean, I know last week's show was long, right? We did a 5-hour extravaganza, and we already did a 3.5-hour podcast with Colin on Wednesday. So we podcasted a lot this week. So, not exactly 4 hours, but close enough to it. So I can tell Jez is kind of getting tired. Late in the day for him.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. here.
So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all the stuff that you normally do. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/XB2. Check out our sponsor, Surfshark, VPN,
Right.
86% off 2-year deal. Links in the description, pinned to the comments. Both those help the show. If you're listening to this later, Spotify or Apple, we appreciate you just as much as anybody here watching live on YouTube or anybody watching later on YouTube.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
So we will be back. Hopefully we'll get some more guests for Xbox 2+1. We'll see what next week brings. I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay cool because it's definitely hot here. And keep it gaming, everybody. Later.
Rock and roll, baby.